Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk on a Monday afternoon. Back from the weekend with 3 hours of sports talk coming your way today here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube stream. Our channel is 580 Sports Talk. You can also watch us on Facebook at WIBW News. I am Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuis is in. Brendan Dworzinski will be along in a bit. The whole gang will be here. We've got 3 hours coming your way. It's an off day for the Royals, so no Royals baseball tonight. And plenty to get to following the conclusion of the 2025 NFL Draft. There are 7 new members of the Kansas City Chiefs after Brett Veach and company made their selections over the weekend. Special thanks to everybody who hung out during the 580 Sports Talk NFL Draft Stravaganza on Thursday night and Friday night on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, where we reacted live to all 4 of the Chiefs' picks in the first through third rounds. There were 3 picks on Saturday. The Chiefs were aggressive, moved up, traded a couple of 7th-round picks to move up in that round. So they ended up entering the final day with 5 picks and exiting having made just 3. But it is a 7-player draft class, and we will break it all down, tell you what we liked, what we didn't, and I will be honest with you right off rip. I think it's a really good draft class by Brett Veach with a chance to be a great one. And whether or not it is a great one hinges on what happens with the first-round pick. But I really like the business the Chiefs did from the second round onward. Very Chiefs-like, definitely addressed some deficiencies, and I really like what they put together with this draft class. We're going to break it all down on today's show. Not only talk about who the Chiefs came away from the draft with, we'll also tell you where former K-State Wildcats and Kansas Jayhawks are headed. 3 Wildcats, 2 Jayhawks selected in the draft. Jacob Parrish, the only one to go on day 2. There were 4 day 3 picks among the in-state schools and some notable UDFA and minicamp opportunities for some former Wildcats and Jayhawks alike. We'll talk about the fits for the likes of Parrish, DJ Giddens, Devin Neal, and others, and chances of others maybe making a roster as a UDFA or at least a practice squad. We'll look at who the AFC West came away with. I think one other AFC West team had a really good draft. I'm a little less sold on the drafts of the other 2 teams in the AFC West. Maybe I'm just being a hater. We'll get everybody's opinion on that. We'll talk about who overall had the best draft classes. And yeah, we'll get to the whole thing with Shedeur Sanders, who is proof positive. If we learn nothing from the weekend and Shedeur Sanders' interminable slide into eventually the 5th round, if we learn nothing else, let this be the lesson from the Shedeur Sanders draft slide of 2025. Nobody wants a famous backup quarterback. Nobody wants a famous backup quarterback. Now, the Browns have a famous 4th-string quarterback, which is worse. That is worse, but Shedeur Sanders is living proof. You do not want, the NFL teams do not want a famous backup quarterback. So we will get into all of that as we go along. Lots of NFL draft reaction on the show. And, of course, because it's a Monday, we'll have our guy Matt Verderame join us to make heads or tails of the NFL draft. Matt from Sports Illustrated, SI.com. That football show on the KC Sports Network and elsewhere. Matt Verderame will join us at 3:35, so roughly the bottom of this hour here on 580 Sports Talk. We'll get his thoughts on the Chiefs class and the rest of the NFL draft. We'll also get into some baseball. Good weekend for the Royals. 5-1 homestand. That is a great homestand. You go 5-1. Don't care who your opponents are. You go 5-1 in a week of Major League Baseball. You had a great week, and the Royals have returned within shouting distance. They were briefly at 500 before yesterday's 7-3 loss, and they're right there on the fringes of 500 as they head out for what looks on paper like it could be a manageable road trip with 6 this week in Tampa Bay and Baltimore. starting in Tampa Bay at Steinbrenner Field tomorrow night. That's the good news. The Royals played some winning baseball. The bad news, that offensive outburst we saw in the Thursday doubleheader against Colorado, yeah, that might have been more about the opponent than it was about the Royals because they continue to have all kinds of trouble scoring runs. But hey, you hold them to 0, you only need 1. And the Royals managed that twice in both of their wins over the weekend against the Astros. So we'll get into some Royals baseball. Also, all of the other things you've come to know and expect from a Monday edition of this show. We'll have our 580 Sports Talk headlines. We'll start a new week on what is wrong with you, good, the bad, the ugly from the weekend. I'm just going to tell you right now, I have a good, and a good. I don't have any bad and ugly from the weekend. I had a good weekend. I hope you did too out there listening. Hope y'all had a really good weekend, but I had a really good weekend. So my good, bad, ugly is just going to be good, and good. We'll see what the guys have to say when they get involved. But that's all coming up here on 580 Sports Talk today. And of course, we want to hear from you throughout the show. You are invited and encouraged to make your voice heard. 785-272-9429 is the text line number. That is 785-272-9429. Also, if you are watching the program on YouTube today, again, the name of the YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk. So you can hop on the web browser, mobile device, and watch the show on YouTube. Right now, you're just looking at me. You watch the show on YouTube, and there is a live chat in which you can interact with me and Brendan and Spencer as we go along the show, but also interact with your fellow listeners as well. Good afternoon already to Ryan and Paul. Mark H. is in. Our buddy Lenny the Cool Dawson checking in as well. And hello to all of you, and hello to everyone else who will weigh in on the YouTube chat as we go along today. Again, invite you to check out the YouTube stream if you have not already. It's a fun way to interact with the show, interact with your fellow listeners. The name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. 7 new members of the Kansas City Chiefs. We talked on Friday's show about the first-round pick, Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle from Ohio State. In the second round, with the 63rd pick, the Chiefs addressed their need at interior defensive line with Omar Norman Lott out of Tennessee. In the third round, the Chiefs, with the 66th pick that they had acquired previously from Tennessee in the L'Jarius Sneed trade, bolstered their depth at edge with Ashton Jalott out of Louisville. And then the Chiefs moved up in the third round to the 85th overall pick and took the nation's leader in interceptions from this last season, Cal cornerback Noel Williams. On day 3, and this is in case you missed it, just a rundown, with the 133rd pick in the fourth round, Chiefs added a wide receiver, Jalen Royals, out of Utah State. Chiefs moved up in the 5th round to grab Jeffrey Bassa, linebacker out of Oregon, and then they moved up in the 7th round, trading out of the Mr. Irrelevant pick. I was kind of looking forward to seeing who the Chiefs would snag with the Mr. Irrelevant pick, but they traded it and another 7th rounder to New England to pick 228th overall, and they took Brashard Smith, running back out of SMU. That's the class. I really like it. Now, I have my concerns about Josh Simmons, and I went over those on Friday, so I don't want to, and really, I went through those concerns as we were leading up to the draft, so I don't want to beat that dead horse any further than I have to, but it's a big swing, and when you take a big swing, there's huge upside, but there's also a lot of downside. If Josh Simmons never quite comes all the way back from a difficult injury, that patellar tendon. This is putting a lot of faith in Rick Burkholder, the Chiefs training staff. They've proven themselves worthy of having that kind of faith in them. But that is what, and I hate the concept of draft day grades. Like, you'll go to ESPN.com today and you'll read Mel Kiper grades all 32 drafts. And of course, he gives the Browns the A+ because he thinks they got the 5th best player in the draft in the 5th round. Of course, that's his A+, right? But you grade the draft after it happens. We don't know anything about how these guys are going to play in the NFL. I think you should wait. Yes, you have to wait 3 years before you write a draft grade column. So I'm not going to sit here and say, well, I think the Chiefs get a B+ for this round. I'm not going to do that. I don't believe in that. That being said, 3 years down the road, if Josh Simmons is the starting left tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs, there's a very good chance that we will retroactively give this draft an A because I really like what they did after that. Omar Norman Lott on film looks to me like Turk Wharton. Little bit undersized at defensive tackle, but the ability to play all over the interior defensive line and create havoc and get after the quarterback. I see a little bit of Turk Wharton in Omar Norman Lott. And the Chiefs are obviously going to miss that element with Wharton having signed the free agent deal with Carolina in the offseason. But I think Norman Lott can give them that right away. He was not a guy that was thought of as a day 2 pick, maybe during the college season, but really flashed in workouts in the Senior Bowl. And I think he's going to fit really nicely with Chris Jones and Jerry Tillery and Mike Pennell. If that's your 4-person defensive tackle rotation, I think the Chiefs are going to be in pretty good shape. Ashton Gillott, the 66th overall pick. I want to find the graphic so that I'm referring to the right thing here. But friend of the program, Seth Kaiser, Chief of the North, retweeted Alvaro Fernandez of SB Nation, who had put together a graphic. All pass rushers in college football who had over 300 true pass rush snaps, rated by pass rush win rate and pass rush grade by PFF. So the x-axis is win rate, the y-axis is pass rush grade. So it would be really good to be in the top right corner of the graph, like Mike Green, who was projected as a first-round pick, fell out. There were some off-field concerns, a couple of sexual assault allegations at Mike Green. He's in the top right corner of the graph. You know who else in the top right corner of the graph? Ashton Gillott. Somebody who was very effective and very productive as a pass rusher in college, and somebody who the Chiefs already have familiarity with as he has worked out with George Karlaftis. It's a similar sort of player and profile, and he won his reps over and over again playing in the ACC. I think Gillott factors in, and he's somebody, if you watch the highlight tape, can line up inside and win a one-on-one against a guard. Steve Spagnuolo loves those interchangeable pass rush pieces. I think the Chiefs got another one in Gillott. Noel Williams. More I think about it, more I love this pick. Noel Williams led the nation in interceptions last season. Do you know what the Chiefs were not good at in 2024? Creating turnovers. They don't have ball hawks in their secondary. For all of Trent McDuffie's manifest gifts as a cornerback, he's got 2 interceptions in 3 NFL seasons. If Noel Williams can bring some of that ball hawking to this Chiefs secondary and make some field flipping plays, that could be massive, not just for the defense, but also for the Chiefs offense moving forward. They need a ball hawk. They need somebody with some ball skills. And I think that Noel Williams brings that to the Chiefs. So love that pick in the 3rd round. Jalen Royals at Utah State. The comparison is Rashee Rice. That's what you're looking at with Jalen Royals. Somebody who can make plays in the open field. It's a Rashee Rice sort of profile for Royals. Somebody a lot of people thought would go day 2. The Royals snag the Chiefs snag Royals in the 4th round. Jeffrey Bassa, linebacker. I know that was, if there was a head scratcher on the in the draft for the Chiefs, it was that one, because the linebacking core is intact. But Leo Chenal's a free agent after this season. Bass is a guy who graded as one of the top linebackers. I think he was the 4th best linebacker on Dane Brugler's big board over at The Athletic. So this is a chance to get one of the best players at his position in the 5th round and make sure you've got some depth for moving forward should you lose a guy like Chenal to free agency. And then Brashard Smith in the 7th round, the most Chiefs running back pick of the Brett Veach era, a converted wide receiver who ran a 4.3 at the combine. What more do you need to know about why Brett Veach would identify Brashard Smith as somebody to trade up and go get in the 7th round? All of these picks make sense. All of these picks fill voids. I really love the additions on defense on day 2. This is, look, the 2022 draft is big shoes to fill, but I think we have a chance to look back on this one, especially if Simmons hits, at left tackle long-term for the Chiefs. We have a chance to look back on this draft and view it as one of Brett Veach's very best. I'm very, very high on the business they did. What say you, Brendan Dworzinski?
I like this class quite a bit. I don't know if it's the perfect draft class, but I think it is a good step for the Chiefs in the sense that sometimes you just need to be great at the things you are great at. And I'm going to use Ashton Gillott as an example of this. And simultaneously, I don't want to bag on Felix Anudike-Uzomah too much because he's a good dude. The effort is there. Local guy, obviously, both local to KC and K-State, obviously. So I don't mean to bag on him. But you know what he's not? A typical Chiefs defensive end. Like, it was always going to be a project, had to fill out the body, had to work on a few things. The skill set was not exactly what the Chiefs normally go for. But it was worth a swing at that point, coming off of a Super Bowl. You know what Ashton Gillott is? The exact kind of defensive end pass rusher that Steve Spagnuolo and the Kansas City Chiefs want. The effort, the type of effort, the size, the skill set specifically, all the comparisons to George Karlaftis. I mean, the two guys work out together. Like, all those things click so well for Ashton Gillott. That pick makes a lot of sense. Jeffrey Bassa, what he brings to the table in terms of his speed, his athleticism, all of that. Brashad Smith going with a running back who's got speed and a little bit of pedigree. This isn't quite like, Deneric Prince as an undrafted free agent, truly as just an idea. I mean, this is a guy who what you're getting a little bit. Converted players are tough. Kind of interesting going wide receiver to running back. Sometimes you see the inverse, but this has been a successful model in recent NFL history. Tyrone Tracy, who's going to take over as RB1 or 2 for the Giants this coming year, had a good rookie season. He was a converted wide receiver to running back at Purdue and actually had quite a bit of success, was one of the few bright spots for the Giants at the end of this past year. And the Chiefs are better coached and have better talent. So you hope the same kind of thing can click, right? With a running back who, if nothing else, doesn't have a whole lot of tread on the tires. You don't get hit nearly as much as a wide receiver as you do as a running back. So there's obviously some benefits right there. I'm with you on the Noel Williams pick. I think that one is interesting. I think you are, I don't want to say gambling. I mean, he's not one of the elite corners from this draft, but if you think about it this way, I mean, if he steps up and is able to be your second best cornerback, or your number 2 outside cornerback, let's phrase it that way, and he can take the ball away a couple of times because he's going to be matched up probably on number 2 receivers, not always going to have to go up against an elite quarterback, obviously. I mean, there's a chance you're going to steal possession even a couple more times over the course of the year, and we know how big of an impact that can have. So I like this class overall. I think there's a lot to like about it. The talent for Josh Simmons is there. I mean, there's absolutely no question. We talked about it on Friday. I have no concerns about the talent level. I have concerns about the rehabilitation and the comeback from injury because it's not just an ACL. You put it this way on Friday's show, Dan. It's not just an ACL. It's not even an Achilles, which is horrible, but for a younger player, you can come back from that. Not a great track record of guys returning from the patellar tendon injury, but if he can do it, he's going to be a cornerstone left tackle. I like Omar Norman-Lott a lot with that pick. I think it's a really solid class. I think it's not the flashiest class. I think that 2022 class had a little more flash to it because you had the 2 first-round picks. There were a lot of people who were big fans of Karlaftis going into the process. A lot of fans of Trent McDuffie going into the process. That Washington secondary that year was really, really good in the draft class. So getting one of those guys was a big deal. So not as much flash this year, but again, I think it's the Chiefs going back to what are we really good at and how can we emphasize that? And that was, if we'll get to more of the draft around the league in a little bit, but if you kind of look around the league, that's what a lot of teams did. Like, let's just go be great at the things we're great at and just stick with it. And I think there are some really good, the Giants, I mentioned them already. It's kind of weird to bring them up twice because they stink and they're not going to be good. They have one good thing, their defensive line. They went into this year, Dexter Lawrence in the middle. Obviously, they have Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, who's not been a bust, not quite lived up to it, but he's a good secondary pass rusher. And they said, well, we're good at one thing. You know what we're going to do? Be even better at it. And they drafted Abdul Carter, who is by far the best edge in this class and the number 2 overall player, according to most people, most draft analysts. Chiefs doing the same thing. Corners who can add a little bit of ball skill, because you don't have a lot of that right now. An edge rusher who's going to play with a high motor and use a lot of power to get after the quarterback. A big, beefy left tackle. Defensive lineman who's got a little pass rush juice. probably wasn't used perfectly in college. Who does that remind you of? A certain 95 who wears red in Kansas City. I think all these picks make a lot of sense. And I think that's the best thing. And I mean that as a high compliment. I think it's the best thing I can say about this group.
Something else I want to point out about Bassa is converted safety. So you have versatility.
She's Brian Urlacher. Okay.
Yeah, you have an understanding of different positions, high football IQ. That is something that the Chiefs have treasured about their defensive picks over the years.
And especially at linebacker. It stands out especially at linebacker and in the secondary, because all those dudes, I mean, when we get to training camp this year, we get Mitch Holthus on the program every day for our training camp reports. You're going to hear at least one in which he talks all about how smart Trent McDuffie is and how Steve Spagnuolo gives him everything he possibly can because Trent can handle it and he can live with it and deal with it and make do with it. Justin Reed, who obviously walked in free agency, he was the same kind of guy. Justin Reed, among the smartest football IQ, and just a smart guy in general, but among the smartest football IQ guys in the entire league, which made up at times for maybe not being a good athlete, but not a great athlete. And I think that football IQ made up for it. Linebackers the same way. This coaching staff talks really highly about the football IQ of Nick Bolton. Again, making up for maybe not being an elite athlete. Drew Tranquil, same thing. Leo Chanel, hey, he's a great athlete, but also he's so smart. I remember vividly a Mitch training camp report this past year talking about how much Leo Chanel could take on because he had such a high football IQ. Same kind of thing here. Guys who are going to do the right thing. So even if you don't have the perfect body, the perfect pieces that fit athletically, whatever, the perfect matchup with the other team's best skill set, you've got guys who are smart, who are going to make the right play, even if it's not the flashiest play.
I like the class quite a bit. I think it has a chance, again, if Simmons is healthy and performs to close to his ceiling and is a long-term fixture at left tackle, this could be an all-time class for the Chiefs.
Rob on YouTube, appreciate Rob and everyone else who's joining us on the video stream today, says they killed it. Everybody's giving them A's, lowest grade. The media's given out has been a B+. That's true. A lot of folks have really liked this one. I've heard it on a couple different podcasts I've listened to this morning. I know Sam Monson over at the 33rd team, he had the Chiefs as one of his very favorite drafts, both after day 2 and throughout the entire thing. This is a very solid class. This is a ball knowers class because there weren't a lot of people out there clamoring for Jeffrey Bassa. Mel Kiper was not having a temper tantrum over Jeffrey Bassa. But you know what he is? He's a ball player. And this is a draft for, like, okay, meat and potatoes. Let's get the smart picks. Let's get pieces that fit, that emphasize our strengths. I didn't even mention Jalen Royals. I talked about this on Twitter when it happened, and we were texting about it. Love that pick. Absolutely love that pick. A lot of people who scout the draft thought he was going to be a day 2 guy. Maybe as high as the late second round.
I like him better than a lot of the guys who went day 2, to be completely honest with you. And I think he's a better fit for what the Chiefs do than some of the guys who went day 2.
The Lions took Isaac Tesla with the 70th overall pick, and good for him, wide receiver out of Arkansas. He had like 20 targets all year and was mocked by most draft people in the 7th round.
Yeah.
And you got Jalen Royals in the 4th?
No.
Yes. Even if he's a developmental guy, yes, that's a big-time win.
Hey. Pieces that fit, pieces that make the team deeper at really important spots. I feel a lot better about the defensive depth of this football team than I did last year when you saw they didn't have enough guys that could get after and impact the pass rush, and they didn't have stability at cornerback when guys started getting hurt. They addressed those things, and I think got really quality pieces that fit what it is that the Chiefs want to do.
I said this on our reaction show after they got Noah Williams. The biggest thing that we talked about every day on 580, after game days on Mondays, when we were reacting to the games or the day after the game, whatever day it was, the lack of cornerback depth, and they went out and they got a guy. What round did they get him in? The 3rd?
Yes. Moved up to 85 overall.
A guy that's a fringe 2nd round pick, I think.
Yeah, I really like it. I thought this was good business by Brett Veach.
Ball hawking corner.
I'm sorry we're short on time. I was just going to say real quick, the way he moved up and down the board, I thought was really well done too.
Yeah, ended up making 7 picks, and I think the Chiefs are going to be really happy with this class. We'll take a timeout, come back with the good, the bad, the ugly from the weekend that was. Matt Verderame is going to join us this hour. Lots more NFL draft stuff to get to, all in the next 3 hours on 580 Sports Talk. good, the bad, the ugly from the weekend that was. I don't have a bad or an ugly.
Whoa.
I have good, good, and good. So let me self-indulge real quick, and then I'll get out of your way. Good.
Right.
Liverpool, the English Premier League club I've supported for the last decade and a half. Premier League champions 2025. Got to celebrate with their fans, which they didn't get to do the last time they won the title back in 2020. Very, very cool moment, cool scenes at Anfield yesterday as Liverpool win the Premier League. Good. Aaron Gordon with the first buzzer-beating dunk in the history of the NBA playoffs to level the series between the Nuggets and the Clippers at 2 games apiece. I love Aaron Gordon forever. Good. Gabe Landeskog scored a goal for the Colorado Avalanche in Game 4 of their series against the Dallas Stars. After not playing in a hockey game for over 1,000 days, he looks like one of their best players in the 2 games that he's played in the series. That series is level up at 2 with Game 5 tonight in Dallas. Whether teams win, lose, those things get lost to time. Moments are what this is all about at the end of the day. Moments are what makes being a fan worthwhile. A couple really cool moments on Saturday. So that's my good, and that's my week. How about your good, Brendan?
All right, my good. Shout out to Baron Sorrell, edge rusher from Texas. He was the Packers' 4th-round pick. He paid his way to go to the draft. He said during his post-draft media, like, hey, I've been a big NFL fan for a long time. I love the draft. I wanted to come see what it was like myself. So he paid his own way to go to Green Bay, watch the draft night 1, spent part of it in his hotel room. The NFL learned of this. Day 2, they said, hey, why don't you come to the green room? Like, it's open. Why don't you just come and hang out? And he celebrated with his teammate, Matt Golden, who the Packers also drafted. He didn't get drafted day 2. He told Roger Goodell, I don't know if I'm sticking around for day 3. Goodell told him, hey, if you stick around, I'll make sure it's worth your while. I will go back out, which I never do on day 3, and I will announce you being picked. So Sorrell said, all right, cool. And then the Packers drafted him, and he was the only guy left in the green room, came out, got to celebrate with his new hometown fans. That was really cool for a dude who just loves ball.
Good, Spencer?
Yeah, I'm like you. I don't have any uglies for the weekend. Almost had an ugly. Friday night could have turned into Sunday night being ugly, but the Caps got revenge from Friday night's bad loss. They won yesterday. Tom Wilson, America's guy, he went out there and he laid a hit, a completely legal hit, mind you, led to a goal, led to the Caps winning. They're headed to DC for Game 5 where they can win it Wednesday night. The Nationals comeback win over the Mets yesterday. They are playing right now to potentially win the series. And the Commanders are going back to DC. RFK 2030. Let's go.
All right, well, glad I'm the only person with any negativity this weekend. I'll just give you one bad, not really any ugly for me. My bad, why the hell didn't Kobe Bryant get drafted? What happened? He 3-time first team All Big 12 and he can't get drafted?
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
Insane.
We'll talk about his UDFA destination in the 4 o'clock hour. But first, we'll take a break. Come back with Matt Verderame talking football on 580 Sports Talk. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by our NFL insider, Matt Verderame, covers the National Football League for Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Also appears on That Football Show on the KC Sports Network and has his own subscriber-only Patreon. The Matt Verderame Show joins us every Monday at this time. Matt, Josh Simmons is the first-round pick for the Kansas City Chiefs at number 32 overall. What do you view ultimately as Simmons' ceiling, and how likely is it do you think he gets there?
I think his ceiling is a Pro Bowl level player. The top 10 tackle in the league, something like that. I mean, his talent is undeniable if you watch the tape. How likely is it? I think, look, when you're talking about a 320-pound guy coming off a patella, a non-contact torn patella, that's about as serious as it gets. I think it's 50-50 if he gets back to where he was. I mean, or at least I shouldn't say back to where he was. I think it's 50-50 if he ever gets to the level that he maybe could have gotten to before he got hurt. Look, if he gets to 80% of that ceiling, the Chiefs are probably happy, content. If he gets to more than that, that's unbelievable. That's awesome. But it is a huge risk. I've been on record for months saying I wouldn't have taken him. I would have probably gone with Luther Bird there, maybe some other direction. I get why they did it. It's a big swing. It could be a grand slam. It could be a strikeout, but I understand their thought process.
Do you believe Andy Reid when he says it could end up a three-man competition for two spots, or do you think this is always going to be a year where Simmons sits and learns and they figure out if Jalen Moore can play?
I think Simmons would have to be 100% healthy in camp, and I think it would have to be so apparent that Simmons and Moore are better than Taylor, that's how that would go. I like, if it's close, I think they will give Simmons all the time they can possibly give. But if they're sitting there on August 20th, 25th, and they played the preseason games and they're looking at each other in the room and they're saying, look, Moore and Simmons are by a mile the best two tackles on this team, then I think they play him. I think anything short of that, it's tough because Taylor's making 27, I think it is, and change on the cap. You just paid Jalen Moore. You got Simmons coming off of a major knee injury. I think the most likely scenario is that Moore's on the left side, Taylor's on the right side, Simmons waits his turn. But yes, the only way I can see that is if Simmons just goes in there and he's just so dominant, they feel like we have no choice, got to play him.
I really like the picks the Chiefs made on the defensive side of the ball on day two. Of those three picks, Omar Norman Lott, Ashton Gillott, and Noel Williams, which of those three do you think could make the biggest impact for the Chiefs in 2025?
Norman Lott, I think he's going to pretty much start. Look, they always have a rotation next to Jones, and that'll certainly continue. But Norman Lott's the one guy they have on that team. Like, you look at him and you say, next to Jones, he's a pass rusher. It's kind of what he is. I mean, when he was in Tennessee, he wasn't in there two gapping to stop the run. He was head down, pad level down, get up the field, make a play, push the pocket. I would suspect that is what the Chiefs are going to want out of him as well. They have Mike Pinnell to play the run. Jerry Tillery is the guy. They want him to get in there and create some havoc, much in the way that Wharton did. I love that pick. I know that of all of them, a lot of people have kind of been the most up and down on Norman a lot. I saw him a handful of times in Tennessee and was very impressed. I also will say I like Noel Williams a lot too, and it's nothing against Gillott. I just think Gillott might get kind of stuck in a deep rotation. But Williams is, a hamstring pull away from being a starter. And when you look at his film in California, that guy is made to be a Steve Spagnuolo corner. He is physical. He's got size. He's got good hands. I mean, he's got all the traits that you'd want for a corner in Kansas City.
Matt Verderame is our guest. He joins us every Monday at this time to go around the NFL. You can find his work in Sports Illustrated and SI.com. Also, the Matt Verderame Show on Patreon and That Football Show on the KC Sports Network, joining us via the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. One more Chiefs question for you, Matt. Jalen Royals in the 4th round. There were a lot of draft folks who thought he was going to be almost certainly a day 2 pick. He slides into the 4th round. A lot of comps out there comparing him to Rashee Rice. Well, that sounds like a Chiefs receiver all in all. What do you think the Chiefs are getting with Jalen Royals? And do you feel like that was a really good value pick?
I think it's the best pick they had in the draft. I saw Royals down at the Senior Bowl, and I think that's a guy who, look, is he going to start this year for them? Barring injury or suspension, probably not, even if you, like me, consider basically, three receivers these days. You're going three wide more often than not. They have Brown, they have Worthy, they have Rice. It's going to be hard for him to go out there and get 70% of snaps this season. That being said, I would have been fine if they took him at 63. I think a lot of people would have been. I mean, Jalen Rose is a guy that most people around the league, I think felt like, okay, look, he's a midday 2 pick, late second, early third. If he had even gone in the mid 50s, I think most teams would have said, okay, fine. Falls to the Chiefs had to be ecstatic. They had to be thrilled. Look, I think this year, he's probably in a perfect world for the Chiefs. They're fourth receiver, right? Like he maybe outplays Juju and gets himself to that level where you can sit there and go, okay, he's kind of the next in waiting. And if we let Brown go, then he takes over. But that being said, if he gets himself to wide receiver 4, there's always a hamstring pull. There's always a situation where a guy's going to have to step in for a few games or step in for some snaps. And so I think he could be a meaningful contributor to them, but he's got to be that Juju. And I think maybe to some people that sounds like an foregone conclusion. It's not. Juju's a guy who he contributed significantly to them winning the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. Mahomes loves him. If Royals can beat him out, that's a really good sign for his development.
Elsewhere outside of Kansas City, let's get to a couple big picture ones here. What is a team draft or two that really stood out that you just thought this makes a lot of sense? Like, this is what the team needed. These are good players. They all kind of click. Well, what's a draft or two that really just made a lot of sense to you this weekend?
I like what Pittsburgh did. They didn't have the second round pick because they traded for Metcalf, but I love getting Harmon in the first round there. I think that's a good pick. I really, in the third round, they got another value, I thought, in Caleb Johnson. Good player, good back out of Iowa. Somebody I thought maybe the Chiefs might take a look at. And then, they pick up Jack Sawyer later on, who just feels like a Steeler. Like, that's the perfect fit. I feel like they'll coach him up. They'll get the absolute most out of him. And then, listen, I thought Dallas had a really good draft. Be fair. It's always kind of fashionable to give Jerry a hard time, I feel like. But I thought they had a good draft. I thought Baltimore got a lot of value with Starks and Green. The question, of course, with Green is what kind of person are you getting? Who had multiple sexual assault allegations in his past, both in high school and college. So there were some drafts that made sense. Cleveland, I thought, did pretty well, but of course, Cleveland is always going to be remembered for two things: Shedeur Sanders and trading out of the Travis Hunter pick. And we're going to see over the next few years whether they were right or wrong.
All right. Let's get to Cleveland here, because obviously the story is Shedeur Sanders, the most famous fourth string quarterback of all time going into this season. The whole fall with him, obviously that was a debacle of media coverage and all of that. But I don't understand Cleveland's draft in general. The trade, they get a lot of value for it. Okay, that's fine up at the top with the Travis Hunter move. And I like the Mason Graham pick. But not only do they take Shedeur Sanders in the 5th, it appeared to be an owner's call, they took who I think is a much worse quarterback in Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round, which was already a head scratcher. Then not only did they take one running back, they took a second running back as well. 2 quarterbacks and 2 running backs with not that many picks overall. Can you make sense of this Cleveland draft, Matt?
I like the talent that they added because I really like both of the backs. I like Graham. I even like Carson Schlesinger. I think he can be a good player. So I was a fan of what they did in terms of the talent they added. Now, Dylan Gabriel, I'm out on that. But that pick to me, I'm with you. I felt like that was an overdraft. I also felt like it was kind of needless. Sanders, I felt the exact same way. Like, they showed the war room. It looked like a hostage situation. I mean, nobody even had a smile on their face when it took Shedeur Sanders. You're wondering if that was Jimmy Haslam pulling rank and say, we're taking him. And that's going to happen here. Look, the Browns are the only team I've ever seen in my life that have 5 quarterbacks, and none of them are a starter. Okay? I mean, they've got almost a half dozen guys. And, I don't know between them if anybody can play. Sanders, in one way, went to the best spot he could have at that point in the draft because he went somewhere he could start. I mean, he could conceivably start week 1. The flip side of that is he went to the absolute worst place he could go to because that franchise has been dysfunctional forever. And you are going into a situation where dysfunction reigns, and who knows what's going to happen. If they're not good this year, and they're not going to be good this year. Is Stefanski gone? Is Berry gone? If that happens, does the next head coach combination with the GM, do they want Shedeur Sanders? Do they clean house? I mean, the Browns have just cycled through a billion guys for what's going on almost 30 years now. So in one way, you look at it and go, hey, went to a good spot, might get playing time. And on the other side of the coin, you go, oh my God, of all the teams, that's where he's going. That's who's in charge of developing this kid. So that's going to be fascinating. It's going to be absolutely fascinating to see how that plays out this summer in Berea.
Most of the quarterbacks, especially the big name guys, I thought their landing spots at least made some semblance of sense. Cam Ward first overall, obviously. I actually love Milroe going to Seattle. I think that's a great fit for him. Tyler Shuck, I don't love him as a prospect, but I get, the old guy, high floor, going to New Orleans because who knows what Derek Carr's health is going to be like. But I cannot square the Jackson Dart thing. I just can't. I think I speak for our whole crew here. I don't get it. I don't really love him as a prospect. Feels like a weird pick with Brian Dable probably already half fired. I don't get that one, Matt. Did that one make sense to you for them to move up to go get Jackson Dart on day one?
I'm kind of torn on the Giants in the sense that I really like some of their draft. I think Bill Carter might end up being the best player in this draft. I like, Scattlebo is fine. He's an interesting player. He'll be a crowd favorite there in New York. I like Darius Alexander out of Toledo going to them. I thought they got good value there. But to your point about Dart, look, I'm not a huge Jackson Dart guy to begin with, so take that for what it's worth. The problem is with the Giants taking Dart, it almost felt like we feel compelled to do this because everybody's about to get fired. And if we don't find that pot at the end, gold at the end of the rainbow, we know how this ends, right? Like if they go 4-13 this year with Russell Wilson and James Winston, I just cannot imagine everybody coming back. So you'll wonder if this is one of these things. Like I've already talked about this, I feel like a handful of times this morning on different spots where, like, look, everybody's talking about Cam Ward, and like I've been asked a few times, like, what's the pressure he's going to be facing? I got to tell you, I think Jackson Dart's going to face more pressure than Cam Ward is this year. Nobody thinks that team's any good. The Titans are not good. They play in a small market. He will have time to develop, time to figure it out. They're first-year GM, second-year coach. Like they should have time on their side. The first time Russell Wilson throws an incompletion at MetLife Stadium, there are going to be people screaming for Jackson Dart to be the starting quarterback. And my God, if he has a good preseason, forget it. So, I honestly think in a weird way, like Dart might end up being the early story. We're going to all talk about Sanders, Ford, all the rest of these. I can see it being a situation where we're at week 3 and Brian Dable, they're 0-2 and they get up there and like, guess what? Here comes Jackson Dart. And that will end up being a topic that we all watch closely.
All right, last thing for Matt Verderame from Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Got about 30 seconds here, Matt. Of the other 3 AFC West teams who were not the Chiefs, which team were you most impressed with in terms of their draft haul?
For me, it's between the Raiders and the Broncos. I gave them both Bs. I gave the Chargers a C+, and I gave the Chiefs a B+. And if Simmons works out, it's an A. But I guess I would say the Raiders in the sense, I like Charles Grant in the 3rd round. I think Genty comes in and is an immediate difference maker. We'll see what Beck out of TCU at receiver can do for the Raiders. But I thought those classes were similar. I think they're both good classes. Barron to the Broncos at 20, Harvey in the 2nd round. But I think the Raiders, they just had so many picks. I'll give them the nod. But I think it's between those.
Matt Verderame covers the National Football League for Sports Illustrated, SI.com. He joins us every Monday on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline here on 580 Sports Talk. Matt, always a pleasure. We'll do it again next week.
Sounds good, guys. Take care.
That is Matt Verderame. We will step aside, take a timeout, come back, and wrap up this first hour of 580 Sports Talk after this. Our thanks again to Matt Verderame for joining us, as he does every Monday here on 580 Sports Talk. Said the Browns have 5 quarterbacks and none of them are starters.
That's incredible. But he's right.
Yes,
he's right.
You have to try so
wrong.
hard to put together a quarterback room with 5 guys and none of them are a viable starter in the NFL at this point. And congratulations to the Cleveland Browns for having done that. We'll have more to say. We'll lay out a little space for final thoughts on the Shedeur Sanders saga, which dominated the conversation throughout the NFL draft, contributed to it being one of the most watched drafts ever. But, man, when you draft 2 quarterbacks in the same draft, like, tell me you don't have a plan without telling me you don't have a plan.
The 2012 Washington.
It would have made...
And they drafted 2 good ones at least.
Yeah.
They drafted 2 guys. Like, RG3 would have been a legend if he'd stayed healthy, and Kirk Cousins been in the league forever.
Yeah. And, you draft Cousins, right? Because, it's some insurance in case RG3
Well,
gets
no,
hurt.
the real story is they drafted Cousins because Dan Snyder wanted RG3 and Mike Shanahan wanted a different kind of quarterback.
You mean ownership intervened?
Yeah.
I think that may have happened in Cleveland, too.
It appears Jimmy Haslam made the call to draft Shedeur Sanders, and the football people made the call to draft Dylan Gabriel. Dog, that's like drafting diarrhea or a big brown log. Like, this sucks. That's awful. RG3 was incredible, and Kirk Cousins was a great college quarterback. I don't think you would be outthrown by Dylan Gabriel. Like, he's short, he's old, and he has an average arm. What is that pick?
They showed his draft room. Like, why does Dylan Gabriel have a draft party? Get real. That guy's not getting drafted. Then he went right away.
I don't get
to the
it.
Cleveland Browns.
I don't get it.
Blows my mind. We got a lot more NFL draft plus Royals and what is wrong with you coming up in the 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2, 580 Sports Talk on this Monday afternoon. Thanks so much for being with us on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 1049, online at 580WIBW.com. And a special hello to those of you rocking with us on their YouTube stream on our channel, 580 Sports Talk. Or if you're watching on Facebook, WIBW News, you're cool too. Thanks for being with us. As I said, we appreciate you spending some of your Monday with us. The gang's all here. I'm Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski, and Spencer Dupuis are here as well. And we got 2 more hours of sports talk to get to. Lots of draft to talk about. We're going to get some baseball. Good weekend for the Royals with a pair of victories in a 3-game set over the Houston Astros. We'll have What Is Wrong With You coming up this hour. It'll be our weekly champion crowned because tomorrow we'll have our April semifinals. And then on Wednesday, we will crown our April champion. And our April champion will join our other monthly champions already. If you haven't been keeping up, that would be the Fascist Falconer, the Double D Drunk Driver, and Meth Cannon as our monthly champions that move on to December's tournament of failed champions.
Wow, was the Fascist Falconer in January?
Yeah,
that long ago. Good Lord.
Yeah, that was we're flying through the year. I got to tell you, that is an imposing start to the year with those 3 monthly champs. I'll tell you what, those are strong. We'll see how April comes out. That's coming up later on this hour. Text line's open, 785-272-9429 is the number, 785-272-9429. You can also interact with us in the chat on our YouTube stream. Again, the name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. Float on over there. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Just click on that little bell or whatever the icon is. It says subscribe if you have not already done so. It costs you nothing. You get notifications when we go live, when we do fun stuff like the NFL Draft Extravaganza. You get in on that. No other special member benefits to this point. It just doesn't cost you anything to do, and it makes us feel good to see the number go up.
It does feel good.
Yes. So, subscribe to the channel and interact in the live chat. We appreciate all of you who are making time for us, whether you're watching on YouTube or whether you're just listening. Again, lots of ways to interact with the show, but we appreciate all of you on this Monday. How much of the draft you guys watch? What I'm curious about. We were obviously pretty dialed in Thursday, Friday night. We were doing our NFL Draft Extravaganza videos those nights on our YouTube channel. How much is Saturday? Did you watch?
A lot. You screwed me so badly.
I'm right here. Okay, here we go. I watched.
What are you eating? Why do you have food in your mouth? What's happening? Are we having a blood sugar event? Are you okay?
Yes.
Okay.
I am okay.
All right. Spencer, how much of the draft did you watch, pal?
I watched a good bit. I mean, I kind of watched more because on Saturday evening, went out to an established that rhymes with Monty's tavern, and they had it all plastered everywhere. So I was watching the final picks come through. Very confused because I was off my phone for the most part, not on X, the everything app, where everything runs on X. I did not realize the Chiefs traded away their final 2 compensatory picks to the Patriots. So I was really confused why it said the Patriots were on the clock for Mr. Irrelevant. And then later I went back and realized they traded it away, which makes a whole lot more sense now. But at the time I was very confused.
Yeah, I watched pretty much all of rounds 4 and 5, and then I had to go mow my lawn. So
hey, you did it.
I did half of it. It's backyard is it's dire. Folks.
Got my first mow of the season in on Sunday too. It was extremely overdue.
Thick.
I had a lot of leaves I had to pull back. We had a chain link, boundary fence. I had to pull all these leaves back, but I was mulching those leaves, man. This is how old / wash / how much of a dad I am. I was doing so while singing to myself to the tune of the John Mellencamp classic, Mulch So Good.
Nice.
Oh, baby, I can mulch so good.
So I know ESPN Radio, their national feed was doing draft coverage. So I put that on originally on the old TuneIn app on my phone to listen to. We were well past the time Shedeur Sanders got drafted, and they were still talking about it. So I said, okay, screw this. And I opened YouTube TV and just listened to NFL Network, which was great for the 6th round. But by the 7th, they stopped announcing every pick.
Yeah.
And it was just like every 20 minutes, hey, here's 3 guys who just got drafted. It was, oh, okay. So I heard audio of them playing with puppies at one point. They brought Brad Paisley out because he played a concert at Lambeau Field after the draft was over.
Oh.
So that was something. And then they're like, oh, yeah, here's some more guys who got picked. Hey, Quinn Ewers went. All right, back to dogs. So I watched a good portion of Saturday and listened to the whole thing, but that was not great content, frankly.
I managed to watch the bulk of the 4th round, a little bit of the 5th. I was feeding my son lunch. My wife and I were having lunch and feeding my son. And then I looked down and I had 3 simultaneous ESPN notifications that said, Shedeur must have gotten picked. Because every Shedeur related thing was an Adam Schefter news alert on the phone. So I knew when that had happened. And then by the time 6th, 7th rolled around, my niece had a birthday party on Saturday. So that's where I spent most of the afternoon and the evening. So that's, I did not watch, but a lot of people watched the draft. A lot of people were tuned in to find out where it was that Shedeur Sanders was going to end up. He ended up in Cleveland, as we all know by now, the 144th overall pick for the 5th best player in the draft, according to Mel Kiper.
Yeah, man. Look, I said it during the live reaction shows we did on part of the draft extravaganza on Friday. I thought Shedeur Sanders was going to be a 1st-round pick. I was not surprised he fell because I was not in love with the player. And I was shocked he fell as far as he did. But I will say this. I told you on the show, my comp as a prospect for Shedeur Sanders was Spencer Rattler last year. They went 6 picks apart. Spencer Rattler went 150 last year. Shedeur Sanders went 144 this year.
Yeah.
Like, not a great athlete. Decent, not great arm. Rattler had a better arm.
Yeah.
I think both tough, both run into a ton of sacks, but are tough.
Accurate,
attitude problems. This is the same guy.
Like, do we know though that like Shedeur has an attitude problem, or is he just a Sanders? Is it just like he's Deion's kid, and so he carries himself like Deion's kid?
Yeah. Who knows?
I don't know. Deion, as far as I know, never called former teammates mid.
This is true.
Yeah,
that kind of gets glossed over a little bit.
He was more of like, everything's going to be about myself, but I'm not going to talk trash about my teammates.
It is so easy to not be a jerk. Like you can be cocky. You can have all the confidence in the world. It is really easy to not be a jerk to other people, especially like your own teammates, former or not. It would have cost Shedeur Sanders $0.00 to not say anything about guys who transferred out of his program. Instead, last offseason, he decided to get the Twitter fingers active and say, I don't even remember who this was. He must have been mid. What? Why? You don't have to do this. Yeah. Everybody would think better of you if you didn't, but you clearly don't care about that. And if you read what various draft people are now saying in the wake of this plummet for Shedeur Sanders, he pretty much told a bunch of coaches and executives he didn't care what they thought about him either, which is a wild decision for a job interview.
A direct quote from Shedeur Sanders' father in about a year ago in an interview was, quote, "It's going to be an Eli." The message from the Sanders camp, and they have their own camp, was, we're going to manipulate this process. And you could excuse the Sanders family for thinking they could do that because they did it with everything else. Everything in Shedeur Sanders' life has been meticulously engineered by Deion Sanders, his dad. And this is the first time he couldn't pull the strings. And this is what happened.
Did you guys see Ari Meirov, 33rd team, posted a release from the NFL, top 10 best-selling jerseys from the 2025 NFL draft so far? Obviously, number 1 is Travis Hunter. Number 2 is Cam Ward. Somehow, Shedeur is number 3.
I get it.
Somehow, he's extremely popular.
Yeah,
it doesn't surprise me. That is the jackpot, though, that And I do believe Jimmy Haslam made the call here. I do believe it was Browns ownership who said, no, you're going to go get this kid. He's available in the 5th round. You're going to go get him. I think that Jimmy Haslam has put Kevin Stefanski's ass in one heck of a jackpot, because you don't like already in some places, the most popular player in a team is the backup quarterback. You know, that's an old standby, right? The most popular guy is the backup quarterback. Now the most popular guy on your team, like in a media scrutiny sense, in a popularity sense, is your 4th string quarterback going into training camp. That's not good for anybody.
Bad teams stay bad, man. They're poorly run. They don't care about winning. The owner doesn't care about winning. He's clueless. He's also a criminal. Like it's a disaster.
Yeah.
I don't know what Kevin Stefanski's getting paid. It's not enough.
No,
and honestly,
I need the tell-all. I need the tell-all book one day from Kevin Stefanski, working for that clown show and having to work for Jimmy Haslam. Like I want the tell-all book one day.
There's got to be a better run team that can offer him more money and say like, hey, we'll buy you out of your contract. Come work for us. Stop working for Jimmy Haslam.
He's going to feel like Andy Dufresne escaping Shawshank the day he gets fired. I apologize for sounding like Bill Simmons. But anyhow, we're going to talk a little bit more about all of that other NFL draft stuff a little bit later on in the program. We'll also get some Royals baseball this hour too. But I wanted to start with the local angle, because that was certainly of great interest in day 3, as only one Kansas player went off the board on day 2. That was Jacob Parrish, going 84th overall to the Buccaneers, one slot before the Chiefs also took a corner. Noel Williams. Makes you wonder, had been between those two, where would the Chiefs have liked to go with their pick? Buccaneers really needed some cornerback depth. Parrish wasn't the only corner that they drafted after the first round, but certainly going to have an opportunity to see the field quite a bit, I think, early on.
Dane Brugler of The Athletic said that he would not have been surprised if the Buccaneers had taken Jacob Parrish in the 2nd round. They needed a corner. They really liked him. He said, hey, I would not have been surprised at all. So the fact that he made it to the 3rd round, remarkable, and a huge, huge win for Tampa Bay. And I think that's a very fair spot for Jacob Parrish, maybe even a few picks later than I would have expected him to go. So I think that's a really good fit in terms of landing spot for him.
The running backs from the Kansas Big 12 schools went on day 3. DJ Giddens goes 151 in the 5th round to the Indianapolis Colts. Obviously, they have an established number 1 in Jonathan Taylor, but DJ Giddens should have an opportunity in a backfield that also includes a former Kansas Jayhawk, Khalil Herbert, and Tyler Goodson's on the team as well. But
is that where Herbert landed?
Yeah.
I didn't even remember that.
Yeah. So Giddens to Indianapolis are obviously the Colts scout K-State. They've got a relationship there. They drafted Juju Brents a couple years back. They draft Giddens this year.
A funny note on that. I was surprised they didn't take Devin Neal, because remember last year, that's who signed Jason Bean.
Yeah.
And you know what else is notable about Chris Ballard? His kid is KU's backup quarterback.
Yeah. Obviously, they've got some ties to the state, and the state's Big 12 schools. It's hard to compare a rookie to like an established guy and a star like Jonathan Taylor, but there's a little similarity there, I think, between Taylor and Giddens that should make Giddens a pretty seamless fit in that offense.
Yeah, it got good top-end speed. It might take a little bit to get there on a long run, but good top-end speed, tough, has pretty good hands overall. Taylor, one of his, famous moments of last year was dropping a ball inexplicably, but pretty good hands as receivers. Maybe not, going to run a whole route tree, but you can throw the ball to them and they're going to be effective. I think that's a good spot for Giddens. Probably a little bit lower than I would have picked him, frankly, but I think that was a good spot for him.
Yeah, it felt like the running backs went a little later as a group than would have been anticipated. Teams were kind of content to wait on running backs. And Devin Neal also a victim of that. It took him till 184th overall to hear the former Lawrence Chesty Lion and Kansas Jayhawks name off the board, but he goes in the 6th round to the New Orleans Saints. And there's going to be ample opportunity, I think, for Devin Neal there as well. I really like that fit for him.
Listen, man, I'm going to tell you that this is stupid. Y'all screwed up. There are not 183 players who were drafted who are better players than Devin Neal. There just aren't. And I get it's a matter of fit. I get when you're talking about middle of day 3 to back end of day 3, you're talking about fit, or we're going to bet on traits or whatever. And I know Devin did not run a 4-4 or anything. This was very stupid drafting by the NFL. There were not that many players. There were not that many running backs better than Devin Neal. Like, Ollie Gordon did not deserve to be drafted.
No,
I'm going to tell you that right now.
I saw that draft pick and I said, before Devin Neal, what?
Yeah, I do not think this was well done by the NFL, to be completely honest with you. I don't, and I know I'm biased, but New Orleans, I think, ends up getting a really good player because I think this makes a lot of sense. He's not Alvin Kamara, but when you're talking about, all right, we want a dude who's going to run physically, who can catch the ball, who can do more than just catch swing passes and screens, Alvin Kamara does that, and I think Devin Neal can certainly do that for you too. I think he can run a limited route tree out of the slot for you. You flex him out of the backfield with some motion. I think it's a really good landing spot, and I think the Saints got a really good player as their number 2 running back.
And he should be their number 2 running back. There's no reason he can't surpass Kendre Miller, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Velus Jones on the depth chart.
Do they have Velus Jones listed as a running back?
They do.
That is so funny.
Extremely funny.
That is so funny.
2 other draftees of note. Marquise Siegel goes in the 5th round, 160th overall to the 49ers, a team that has had some turnover at safety. Lost Talanoa Hufanga to free agency. Doesn't sound like Malik Mustafa is going to be ready for week 1. So could be some playing time possibilities for Siegel to break into the lineup.
How do you go 3 months with the nonstop NFL news coverage? How do you go 3 months without the public knowing that a starting safety of yours tore his ACL?
Right?
He tore it in the final week of the regular season. Nobody knew until this weekend that Malik Mustafa was going to miss time. It's an interesting fit, I think, for Siegel. He's going to get a chance there, which end of the 5th round, that's what you want.
And Bryce Cabledew, the 4-year starter for KU on the offensive line, goes with the 192nd overall pick in the 6th round to the Seattle Seahawks. Now, if he's going to play guard in the pros,
yes,
the Seahawks already drafted a guard with their 1st-round pick, Grays Bell. But trust me when I tell you, because I have told you, the Seahawks guard play last season was maybe the worst in the history of the National Football League.
Yeah, he's a guard. He only did guard workouts. And so no matter what, people at various outlets will tell you and say, oh, I can't believe he was not going to be a tackle. No, he always was going to be a guard at the NFL level. Daryl Paulsa, the offensive line coach for KU, said, yeah, he's going to go be a guard in the NFL. But he's a really good athlete. Dane Brugler, again, at The Athletic, he rated Bryce Cabledew as the best overall player who did not go to the combine this year. He said he was a snub, didn't go to the combine. It was his best non-combine player in the entire draft. He goes right after Devin, 8 picks later to Seattle. I really like the pick. And the thing is, too, he can't play center, I don't think. But in a pinch, like if someone got hurt and you just had to put a body at tackle, you could put him there because he played tackle for 4 years in college. I think that was a great pick by the Seahawks. We'll talk more about Seattle in a little bit. But I think that's a good fit for Bryce. I think that's a good developmental kind of third. I think he can very easily be a Nick Allegretti type player, which is very valuable if you need that guy.
No reason he can't make the opening day 53.
Yep.
With as bad as Seattle was, there shouldn't be anybody returning from last year at that position who should be guaranteed a roster spot, especially with a fresh set of eyes on that offense, a new offensive coordinator. So Bryce going to have an opportunity, I think, to win a 53-man gig right off as a 6th-round pick. Players who did not hear their names called. We mentioned this in Good, Bad, Ugly. Kobe Bryant not getting picked was very surprising to me, as it was to you, Brendan. His defensive backfield mate for the Jayhawks, Melo Dotson, also did not get drafted. Both of them able to sign UDFA offers. Bryant with the Falcons, Dotson with the Raiders.
I don't get it. I know you're betting on traits late in the NFL draft. I understand that. And I know Kobe is small, and he did not run especially well at the combine. He did not have great numbers. That being said, everybody, especially people who don't live in the Big 12 footprint, Big 12, all they do is offense, right? Oh, it's all air raid teams, which is, outdated back to 2016 at this point, but, I digress. Kobe Bryant was 3 times a first-team all-Big 12 pick at corner in a league that everyone thinks is pass. And at corner, he was 3 times first-team all-conference. How do you not draft that guy? How do you not take a flyer in the 6th or 7th round or higher on that guy? I do not get it. I really don't understand. There's no character concern. As far as I know, there were no medical concerns. Dotson, I think should have been drafted, but I get it a little bit more. I do not understand it with Kobe Bryant. I do not. the other guys for KU who got UDFA offers, Luke Grimm going to the Chargers. I love Luke Grimm. I will always love Luke Grimm. And if there was any team in the league that was going to take a look at a guy like that, it'd be a team with Jim Harbaugh as their head coach and who drafted Ladd McConkey a year ago. Yeah. Shifty slot receiver, white guy. Like I'm sorry to say it, but yes, that feels like a fit. And I hope Luke Grimm latches on there. Quentin Skinner got $180,000 guaranteed as a UDFA with the Jets. That's a nice little chunk of change for Q-Skin. Logan Brown ended up with the Vikings. Logan Brown should have been drafted. Again, I know, Brendan, you're just a homer for KU. Yeah, duh. But also, like...
Did you just start listening?
I don't think I'm out of pocket saying that I think Logan Brown and Kobe Bryant should have been draft picks. Like, Logan Brown went to the combine. Everybody thought he would be drafted. I did hear a whisper that there may have been a red flag for whatever got him kicked out of Wisconsin. I don't know if he got kicked out or they just told him, like, hey, we don't want you here anymore. Go transfer. And he ended up at KU. I don't know exactly what happened there. I just heard that teams may have had a red flag for that. He ended up with Minnesota. It's like they got a free 6th round pick. I do not get it. I don't know exactly what happened with these guys, why Neal had to wait till the 6th round, why Brown didn't get picked, certainly why Bryant didn't get picked. I don't get it, but I think those guys are going to latch on.
Everybody who was expected to get drafted from K-State pretty much did. Keenan Garber has gotten a UDFA opportunity with Minnesota, same as Logan Brown.
Hey, good for him.
Yeah, very cool. I mean, it's a great story. That's a Lawrence kid, goes to Manhattan, changes position mid-career, and kind of thrust into a big role in the Big 12 championship game as a sophomore.
Not even mid-career, really. I mean, it was later in his career that he moved. Yeah.
And turned out to be a quality starter at corner for the Wildcats and Chris Kleiman. He's got an opportunity with the Vikings. A lot of mini camp invites for guys. Jared Casey gets a mini camp invite with the Chiefs, which is extremely cool for the kid from Plainville. Not the only in their minicamp. Austin Moore from K-State, also going to Chiefs minicamp. Nate Matlack, the former K-Stater, and played at Pitt last year. He's got invites from the Chiefs and the Steelers, as it turns out.
I always make fun of teams. Packer fans are like this a lot. I know well. Why aren't we taking more guys from Wisconsin? This guy from UW should have been drafted. The hometown teams love that stuff. Green Bay is so intense about it. The Steelers steer right into it. They take dudes from Pitt all the time. All the time.
Yeah.
They take dudes from Pitt. It's very funny. But no, good for Nate Matlack. Good for all these guys. Casey's an interesting one, man, because fullbacks don't get drafted. He ain't a tight end in the NFL. He's a fullback. Tight ends never get drafted. I'm curious. He also has an invite from the Dolphins, who have a fullback with pass catching ability in Alec Ingold. If any team was going to use a guy like that, it would be one of those Shanahan style teams. So I think Casey's going to make it to camp. I don't know that he will go beyond that, but I do think he will at least make it to training camp.
One other name from K-State, Ty Bowman, the former Chinook Blue Comet. He got a minicamp invite from the Broncos, which,
good for him.
Walk on to special teams guy to wide receiver contributor last year. He gets a minicamp invite from Denver. Couple of names I think are worth noting from the Chiefs UDFA group so far.
Mm-hmm.
One is Jake Briningstool, the tight end from Clemson. He got like $300,000, I think, as a UDFA. Chiefs did not draft a tight end. That was one position. A lot of mock drafts had them going with one in the 7th round. We talked about maybe looking at adding a tight end. Didn't do it through the draft, but they do one through UDFA with Jake Briningstool. Another one that stands out to me would be Eddie Zaplicki, the punter from USC, won the Ray Guy Award last year.
Mm-hmm.
Best college punter in the country. Matt Araiza sucked. I think there ought to be a competition for that position. To be real frank.
They gave Araiza real money, but you have to be able to put touch on a punt at some point. You cannot kick every ball as hard as you possibly can. And Araiza just refuses to do it. And that's like documented that he said, like, that's what I do. Okay. That's not good enough. So I hope there's competition there because Araiza was not good enough last season.
And one other name that's a cool story. If you're an Athletic subscriber, you should read Nick Baumgardner's story about, and I may get his name wrong, and I apologize if I do, but it's Washington State offensive tackle Essa Pole, I believe it's a Pole, It might be Pole A, didn't play football until he got to junior college.
Yeah.
But ended up starting at Washington State. And look, we know that the Chiefs have found some UDFA offensive linemen that have stuck around, and Essa definitely seems like he's got a story worth rooting for.
I prefer to believe his last name is pronounced Pole, because then you can say his name to the tune of Grove Street Party by Waka Flocka Flame. Essa Pole, Essa Pole, Essa Pole.
I hope that is I hope so too. I hope that's his name now too.
Yeah, really cool story. That's another guy that a lot of folks thought was going to be drafted. Saw him in a lot of 6th, 7th round mock drafts. I think he had one of the Chiefs.
He had the same pressure rate allowed last year as Armand Membu, who went in the top 10.
There you go.
So, yeah, that's a name to watch and a story to follow for sure. We'll take a break here on 580 Sports Talk. We're going to talk some Royals baseball here in just a little bit. First, it's our What is Wrong with You? Coming up next, we're going to crown a short week champion ahead of this week's April semifinals and final on 580 Sports Talk. What is wrong with you on 580 Sports Talk? It's brought to you by our guy, Mo, State Farm agent Ryan. Mo Winkle Insurance and Financial Services. Give him a shout today, 785-273-1572. Let's see what Mo can do for you.
What's up, Mo?
We've only got one competition day for this week on What is Wrong with You. We'll have a short week champion, if you will. And then tomorrow we'll have our semifinals. And on Wednesday, we'll have our April championship for What is Wrong with You. So 2 stories today. Brendan, I'm going to let you go first.
All right. My story today It has one of my favorite headlines we've had this year, so I'm going to start right there. Florida man caught with bulky wallet full of cocaine at Magic Kingdom.
Well, that's very descriptive.
A man has been banned from Walt Disney World after he was caught sneaking a wallet full of cocaine into the Magic Kingdom. 44-year-old Dustin Wallace of St. Augustine, Florida, the oldest city in America, fun fact, was arrested March 29th and charged with possession of cocaine. Pleaded not guilty earlier this month, according to court records. His attorney did not respond to a request for comment. Disney security officer Brian Colon described the situation in the official arrest report. He witnessed Wallace and his son walk up to security near the Magic Kingdom bus loop, and per usual, security went to wand the pair with the metal detector and to check their bags. Colon also asked Wallace to remove the wallet from his back pocket, and Wallace did comply. Brian observed that the wallet was bulky, and he began to get nervous. Brian explained that he must check the wallet. The defendant opened it, and he observed a bag of powdery white substances. Brian then contacted his manager for assistance. The sheriff's office used a field test on the white powder and found the results were presumptive positive, indicating the presence of cocaine. Wallace later admitted to trying to bring the drugs inside Magic Kingdom, claiming the cocaine was for stress relief. Sure it was.
What?
Dustin advised he had been using cocaine for approximately 1 month because of stress from work. Yeah,
Whom among us?
yeah, I'm sure. So yeah, that's effectively the story.
It's a different kind of Space Mountain. He was trying to ride while his kid was in line for some other stuff.
Come
Man,
on. I'm very stressed.
ruin a
I
day
need
out.
to take a bump.
Yeah, come on, man. It's Magic Kingdom. Me, my boy, some Coke,
Terrible.
couple of key bumps before we go talk to Goofy. Come on, man.
Hey, Dad, can we see Snow White? You bet, kid.
My story today, we're going to Pueblo, Colorado, where an inmate escaped the Pueblo County Jail
Go
on
Thunderwolves.
April 24th. The same inmate, Lucas Brown, had previously pled guilty to an escape charge. According to Pueblo Sheriff David J. Lucero, no relation,
Oh?
the inmate was gone for about 35 minutes after walking out of the detention center. He's now back in custody following assistance from the Pueblo Police Department in locating him. He was designated as a kitchen trustee. So, like, he had earned the trust of the people in charge of the prison. He had a job. He was working in the kitchen. They were cleaning up for the night. He went to throw out the trash and then took off running west of 9th Street. He had been working for 24 days in the kitchen and never had an issue. Here's the kicker. At the time of his alleged escape, Brown had just 2 days left in his prison sentence. He was sentenced to 90 days for criminal mischief. He'd served 88 of those days. He escaped. He was caught. He now faces additional charges, will no longer be released, and is no longer a kitchen trustee. He had previously escaped from a staff secure facility in 2017 in a court-mandated treatment facility in Arapahoe County, Aurora, Colorado, my hometown. He was sentenced to 60 days for that escape. He just loves to try and break out of jail.
Yeah, this is a classic love of the game story.
Yeah, it really is.
I have to respect it.
He spent 88 days plotting his release, 88 of the 90 days that he was scheduled to serve.
They'll never expect it. They'll just assume I'll wait until 90. Nope. Oh, man. Yeah, he just loves escaping.
I got to be out 2 days early.
This man watched Prison Break one time and thought, yes, that's going to be me.
This is my destiny.
Oh, man, I really wanted to go with the bulky wallet full of cocaine, but it's hard to. This dude had 2 days left, man.
2 days.
2 days.
All you had to do is chill for 48 more hours.
Dog,
and then you're out for good. They'll walk you out.
Yeah.
You don't have to go running. They will walk you to the front door. They'll call you an Uber.
This doesn't sound like he was at a max security type of environment. Bro, I'm sure they had TVs. Watch the draft. Throw the NBA playoffs on, brother. They're playing 4 games a day on the weekend.
Said this happened April 24th. That was Thursday night. Yeah, it was round 1 of the NFL draft.
Dog!
The
Wait
Nuggets,
for the
Nuggets
Broncos
were
to
on.
pick.
Watch the playoffs.
Oh, God. There were UFL games this weekend. Man.
Just chill. And on the 26th, you could have gone back to your loved ones. or doing whatever it was
or
you were
more
doing
crime.
before.
Yeah,
Your life of extremely petty crime.
That one's got to get the win for me.
Yeah.
Heartbroken for my guy, the bulky wallet of cocaine, but
Well,
yeah.
Hey, sometimes you just got to relieve some stress in that.
What a wild excuse, though.
Yeah.
That gets my vote, though.
Yeah, the 88-day escapee. He is our winner on What Is Wrong With You. It is sponsored by Ryan Mo Winkle Insurance and Financial Services. He's got a website too. You should visit Ryan Mowinkle. That's MOHWINKLE.com. After this timeout, we'll come back. We'll talk a little baseball. 5-1 homestand for the Royals. That's good news. Bad news, you see him hit. That's next on 580 Sports Talk. Said on Friday's show, 4-2 in a 6-game homestand is a good homestand. That was a pretty low bar for the Royals to have cleared over the weekend. It already swept the Rockies. They just need to get 1 from the Astros to have a good homestand. They get 2, it's a great homestand. And the Royals did that. They get 2 out of 3 from the Stros over the weekend. Lost yesterday's game 7-3. Already had some folks, Lenny the Cool in the YouTube chat, wanted to point out, make sure that it was brought to our attention that Chris Stratton pitched in that game and not well. It is remarkable, his commitment to just being lousy every time he takes the mound. He has pitched so far this year in 8 games. Do you know how many of those games he has managed to appear in and not allow a run?
8 games?
Yes.
1.
2. 2 is the correct answer.
You can add Spencer and I together.
April 4th and April 18th.
Great start to the year.
13 runs, 11 earned on 21 hits in 11 innings. And it was such a Chris Stratton inning yesterday too, because like they're down 4-1 at that point, and they end up losing by 4 anyway. But might have been 5-1. Yeah, it was 5-1. He gave up 2, or no, because then Zerpa came in and gave up a run in the 7th. He gives up the 2 in the 6th, and like 2 of the dinkiest hits you've ever seen in your whole entire life. An infield hit and a blooper, and then with 2 outs, Jeremy Pena hits a rocket, just a seed down the left field line for a 2-run double. Like, man, like he is unlucky, but he is also ungood.
Yeah, he stinks.
Texter from the 785 said he's the Rudy Stein of the Royals. That is a great reference. Bad news bears, Spencer. You seen it?
Yes.
The OG or just the modern remake with Billy Bob?
I think it's the modern one.
Hey, you got to see the OG. You will not believe some of the things that can't come out of the mouths of those children in a PG movie from the 1970s.
Yeah, I've not seen that one.
Yeah, man, you got to see that one. That's a good one.
All right.
That's,
put that on the list.
Yeah, man, that's a good one. Anyhow,
can we talk about the pitching from Seth Lugo Friday night?
yes, like we'll get to the positive here. The positive was that the Royals won a pair of 2-0 decisions on Friday night and Saturday night. In particular, Seth Lugo on Friday night was awesome. 8 3-hit innings, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. It's all feeling a little bit like last year for Lugo, where there was a bit of a slow start to his season, but as late April came around, the strikeouts started to tick up and the ERA started to drop. 6 starts for Lugo, and his ERA is sitting at 3.08, 29 strikeouts to just 12 walks. The home runs are the only thing that have been a bit of a concern that are a little elevated from where they were last year, but otherwise, this looks like Seth Lugo as we remembered him, like right where he left off.
Yeah.
Also, he only had 94 pitches, so he didn't go above 100. Like, I think when you go 8 innings now, you're thinking guys are in the hundreds, right? Like, he didn't even hit the 100 pitch mark.
And I do wonder if they'd had a bigger lead, if they would have been comfortable sending him out for the ninth, but with a relatively fresh bullpen, at least on the back end. They called on Lucas Erceg. He worked a clean ninth, and the Royals won that one. Then on Saturday, Framber Valdez did go the distance for Houston, pitched really well, but made the mistake to pass Quintino, who homered off of him. Mark Canha, who was hitting cleanup against the lefty, drove in a run. And Michael Wacha, 6 strong innings, didn't have that flub in the 5th and 6th that have kind of characterized a lot of his outings so far this year. Coming in relief behind him, the Royals have, I think, some found money in Steven Cruz. 7 appearances for Cruz since coming up from AAA, 6 2/3 innings, no runs, no hits, 5 strikeouts, 3 walks. I cannot justify, and I don't know that the Royals can either. Once Hunter Harvey's ready to return from the injured list, which is hopefully soon, I don't know how you can keep Chris Stratton on the team and option out Steven Cruz. I think Cruz has shown me enough. It's a live arm. Plenty of velocity. He's shown me enough. I want to see more. Like, I want to see more from Steven Cruz. And
I like that they put him in. That was a higher leverage situation than I think we've seen him in a lot.
No, it absolutely was.
I mean, you're up 2-0, right?
Right. It's a tight game at that point. Yeah.
You're up 2-0, and you just bring out your starter who went 6 innings but had to pitch 92 pitches. So he was obviously like being seen a little bit more, and you put in a guy like Steven Cruz, and he's out of nowhere.
And if you want to say, well, Stratton can give you multiple innings, like be the mop-up guy, you only ever see him in games that are already lost, which Stratton has pitched in 8 games this year. 7 of them, the Royals were 1-7 in those games.
Not great.
Not directly because of Chris Stratton. It's just that's what they think of him right now, is that they are using him strictly in lost causes. But Steven Cruz worked 2 clean innings against the Rockies in game 1 of the doubleheader on Thursday. So show that you could maybe stretch him out if you need to. That's the guy to keep. At this point, Chris Stratton, you got to view as a sunk cost. If you're really trying to field the best 26, Stratton not going to be a part of it much longer.
Well, yeah, with Cruz too, I want to make a comparison to the NFL draft here. You're betting on the traits, right? Like, you know what Chris Stratton is. He's not good. He's bad. Doesn't matter what money you're paying him. You move on at this point. Steven Cruz, you've got the arm. You've got some stuff. You've got the velocity. You want that. You want to bet on that. You bet on the athletic frame, honestly. I mean, he's huge at 6'7", 225 for a relief pitcher. And he only pitched in 5 games last year, 5 2/3 innings. So far this year, small sample size as well, 6 2/3 innings in 7 games, So he has pitched in the last 2 seasons a grand total of 12 1/3 innings. He has struck out 9 batters in those 12 1/3. He has not allowed a run. That is remarkable. This year so far, gosh, got the hiccups here. Again, small sample size. He has not allowed 1 barrel, the sweet spot barrel of the bat hitting the ball. Not 1 batter so far in his 6 2/3 innings so far this year. 2/3 of those batters have hit ground balls. I mean, he's getting guys to just roll over stuff. His fastball is sitting at almost 98 miles an hour.
Yeah, man.
97.8.
It's a
Bet
live
on
arm.
that. You are in a position where you can't really afford to say, yeah, but Chris, we're going to leave Steven in AAA to get. No, you bet on those high-level traits right now, and you let the cookie crumble from there.
Lenny the Cool in the YouTube comments. Stratton's a 4-pitch pitcher. He throws singles, doubles, triples, and homers. The out pitch still
Get
needs
him.
work. Absolutely filleted him.
I thought our guy Trenton was going to have an apoplexy this weekend. Although I think that every time Stratton enters a game.
The bad news from the weekend for the Royals, they scored 7 runs in 3 games. And look, they faced 3 pretty good starting pitchers.
Yeah.
Valdez is excellent. Hunter Brown yesterday was awesome. Like that looks like a guy who is having a legitimate breakout campaign. They're going to see 3 more good ones in Tampa Bay. We'll talk about more about Taj Bradley, Drew Rasmussen, and Shane Baz tomorrow. But it's going to be more tough starting pitching, but it's still not really going for Vinny, even though he did homer off a lefty on Saturday. So hopefully that's a positive sign. But the guys that are going are going. Bobby Witt Jr. is hitting 19 straight, batting averages up to 315.
Yep.
The longer Michael Garcia continues to do what he's doing, the more he becomes a guy who absolutely has to be in the lineup. Right now, he is hitting 274, the OPS at 750. The only thing he's not doing well is running the bases, which that appears to be a team-wide issue. The Royals are 20 for 32 stealing bases.
Not great.
No, that has to improve. Jonathan India had a couple of hits yesterday. He's starting to trend in the right direction. Mentioned Mark Canha with the RBI on Saturday off of Valdez. It looks like he's at least going to be trusted against lefties. Like he's going to be in the lineup against left-handed pitching, but right now he's hitting 346. It's an extremely small sample size. We have a texter from 785 asking, why isn't Canha playing more? He's 36 and didn't have a long spring training with the team. I think the Royals are still kind of learning him. Also, he did have the injury a little bit. I don't know that you could play Canha 7 days a week, but certainly against lefties, need to see him up in the batting order. And I'm absolutely convinced that I would like to see him in the lineup a lot more often than Hunter Renfroe.
I know this is not what you want to hear if you're a Royals fan, because you want to see production. And I totally 100% get that. I do think there are still some process things that are working out well for the Royals. We use this stat all the time, but a hard hit ball, according to MLB's official stats, 95 miles an hour or harder off the bat. Okay. The Royals in yesterday's game did that, and I want to make sure I have my numbers correct here, 9 times, okay? Here is how those ended up. 97 off the bat for Michael Massey, line out. A single for Kyle Isbell, 98 off the bat. Vinny Pasquantino ground out at 99 miles an hour. Massey into a double play, 100 miles an hour off the bat. 100 as well for Vinny, another ground out. 101 for Isbell, ground out. Expected batting average of 500, grounded out. Michael Garcia, line out 102 off the bat, and then triple and double for Waters and Salvi, the hardest hit balls of the day. That's bad luck at that point. You have that many balls that you are walloping. That's bad luck. I'm not out yet. I'm discouraged, but I'm not out yet on the offense.
I'm starting to wonder if we need to see a run of games for Michael Garcia at second base. Michael Massey is 18 for his first 92. And is one of the least valuable players in baseball so far. According to Baseball Reference, wins above replacement. He's already been worth almost a negative win.
Yeah.
0.9 wins above replacement. Same as guys like Jamer Candelario, Jacob Amaya for the White Sox. Hunter Renfroe, by the way, negative 1.2. Him and Andrew Vaughn, least valuable players in baseball. We are well overdue for a timeout. We got to take one. We'll come back and wrap up the hour. 580 Sports Talk. This could have been a what is wrong with you, and I don't mean to pick on Spencer's Washington Nationals. They had a good weekend otherwise, 2 out of 3 over the Mets. They had Bark at the Park on Friday night and Fireworks Night on the same night.
Not good.
They're calling it the best idea in baseball history. They had a picture on the Jumbotron of an absolutely horrified-looking dog because they did. They ran a disclaimer. It said, if you or your four-legged friend are not a fan of loud noises, we advise you exit Nationals Park immediately following the game's conclusion. They'll give you 20 minutes to leave the park with your dog, and they're going to start off the loud booms. They're going to freak your dog out.
Wow.
Especially the parking to get out of there. Yeah, no, that was.
I was going to ask, is it rough? Yeah.
Like, why? No pun intended.
Uh-huh.
Why?
Yeah.
Why would it not occur to somebody in promotions? Hey, we're in a bunch of dogs in the park on this night. Maybe we don't do fireworks.
I thought you were talking about the second baseman and right fielder running into each other yesterday.
No, that's not as big a blunder as this.
It is funny, though.
Bark in the Park and Fireworks Night the same night. That is an all-time. Like, somebody has to get fired for that.
Yeah.
Coming up at the 5 o'clock hour, we got headlines. We'll wrap up our NFL draft thoughts, and we'll hear from you on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it, 580 Sports Talk. Third and final hour on this Monday. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW FM 1049, 580WIBW.com. And, of course, on our video stream on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. We are live on YouTube. We are live on Facebook at WIBW News. Dan, Brendan, Spencer with you for one more hour today. No Royals baseball. Their Eastern Division swing starts tomorrow night with the first of three in Tampa. Actually, in Tampa, not in St. Petersburg anymore. They're playing this year at Steinbrenner Field in Tampa, where the ball is carrying. Some short porches, a lot of dingers.
They're also having trouble the left field line. If you hit a home run there, it might be in. It might be. I don't know if you guys saw.
Yeah, Aaron Judge,
homer, no homer.
Yeah, if he imagine he hits like 72 home runs this year, which is not out of the question because he's unbelievable. But and then he loses that one in Tampa.
I think they should stay in that park.
Can you turn on your mic, please?
It is.
I turned it on. No,
There
I
we
just turned it on.
Oh, you turned it on? Oh, well, I thought I turned it on. They should stay in that park.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't drawing much more than the 14,000 capacity or whatever
Don't
it
leave.
is.
Just stay.
So
Even leave it Steinbrenner Field. Just stay.
yeah, a lot of work to turn it into something that looks like a Rays park because it is, of course, the spring training home of the New York Yankees.
Here,
So,
I propose this.
Okay.
Why don't they just some money exchanges hands between organizations? Just make that the home of the Tampa Bay Rays, and then have their summer place or their spring training place, where the Yankees flip.
Sure. Fine by me. Just stay there. There's no point. Play outdoors anyway. Come on. Grow up. Be an adult. Play outside.
3 games starting tomorrow between the Royals and the Rays. There'll be some earlier starts, some 6:05 starts, so we'll be off a little earlier the next 2 nights at 5:30, but we're with you until 6. Here tonight on 580 Sports Talk, want to hear from you. The text line is 785-272-9429. You can also jump in the live chat on our YouTube stream. Again, the name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. Subscribe today if you have not, and jump on in to that live chat and interact with us, interact with your fellow listeners as we go along. Of course, we are keeping track, too, of the possibility that some severe weather develops in our listening area tonight. If something were to happen here in the next hour, we will certainly let you know, and there will be updates from the Capital Federal Weather Center throughout the night should those severe weather warnings require. Area that we're in is currently in a tornado watch, so just something to be mindful of as you go through your nights. Be safe out there. Coming up this hour, we've got our 580 Sports Talk headlines. That's the final thoughts on the NFL draft. We'll take a look at the other drafts in the AFC West, who had, the best draft of the AFC West teams, who had the best drafts overall, picks we really liked, moments we really enjoyed, some final NFL draft thoughts as we go along this hour. We have a question from the 785 on our text line.
I have an answer.
What's the story on the 580 intro song? I think they mean our 580 Sports Talk introduction.
I would like to know that too.
The story is it was the theme music when I started here in 2016, and we've never changed it.
Yeah, I don't know. But Jake told me at one point where it originally came from. It was originally the theme song to Sports Sanity, when that was one of the 2 sports talk programs here on the Sports Voice of Kansas. I'm sure many of you remember that. That was the Sports Sanity theme. Then it became one show again, and that was the preferred theme, so they kept it, and that's where it came from. I don't remember the original origin of the artist. I don't know if it was commissioned or not. I don't recall. I know Jake told me at one point.
I think it might have been from whatever syndicated sports talk programming that 580 was running for a time a while back. They would use that. We like it because it's, rights free. It's royalty free. So we just use it. And we don't have to pay anybody for the privilege.
Right.
So we've just never changed it. It's just something that when you hear it, it's 580 Sports Talk. So, why mess with it? I don't know if we sat down and we built the whole thing from scratch all over again. Would we choose exactly that again? Maybe not. But it's like I said, I started on this program early September of 2016, and it was the theme song. And I'm good with it. Like, I don't.
It's iconic at this point.
Iconic is one way to describe it. Might be overselling it, but it's. I don't mind it.
Now I can tell you a little peek behind the curtain. When we split 580 Sports Talk a couple years ago into 2 programs, and we did 3 hours of Mic'd Up and 3 hours of 580 Sports Talk, Jake, I don't remember where he found them, but had a library of rights-free music.
Yes, we have access, as most radio stations do, to libraries of rights-free music. You pay a subscription, and you get all this rights-free music that you can use and not have to,
And he picked a few that he thought, I think these are pretty good. And he asked what I thought. And I said, I like that one. And he asked Fulton, and Fulton said, I like that one too.
So that's how they picked the Mic'd Up theme.
So for 16 months, that's what they used.
Yeah. And when we, on 580 Sports Talk, we kept the 580 Sports Talk theme.
Yeah.
And
it kept the branding.
It persists to this day. So, hopefully you all like it. Hopefully when you hear it, it's time for whatever you would describe this as. It's time for 580 Sports Talk. So,
and if you don't like it, well, sorry.
Tough. Not going to change it to, a real song.
When I interned at ESPN Champaign-Urbana down in Central Illinois, my senior year of college, or before my senior year of college, they used the theme song was a song by the band Royal Blood. It was called Into the Black. Good song. Cool riff to open it. But it was a real song. And I don't know if they ever had to pay royalties for that or what. But I just know they were using a real modern rock song, and they weren't going to tell anyone if no one was going to ask questions. We are not doing that.
No.
Because people would ask questions.
So when I started, my first sports talk radio show in the business was when I was working for, it was an ESPN radio affiliate at the time in North Platte. It no longer is. It's doing the good time oldies AM format that you see a lot. But back then it was an ESPN radio affiliate. And I had an hour of sports talk right in the midday, noon Central Time, imaginatively known as the Dan Lucero Show. And I got to pick my own theme music, my own imaging and everything. So I used High Roller by the Crystal Method.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my theme song for that song and for that show. And again, you kind of assume in a market that small, like BMG music's not coming for me. Like
right.
they're going to leave me alone. They're going to let me. Now, like we use real music as bump music, the real songs. Those are songs that you may recognize. Some of them you may recognize. You may not recognize some of them. But that falls under like fair use. It's different when it's like your theme song and you're running it for like 45 seconds every single day.
Right.
Like
also
there's a difference, and I won't bore you with the details, but yeah,
fair use is like under 30 seconds or something. So
yeah.
If you have too many overs, they'll come after you.
Yeah.
I know this because the first station I worked for out of college, the guy basically got phone calls from them and told them to F word off.
Oh, well.
Smart.
Yeah.
Let's see how it plays out for them.
Yeah, good luck with that.
I don't know what's happened since, but yes.
But we need to get High Roller into the bed rotation.
Sometimes I try to mix in the old mic'd up ones.
Yeah,
Try to get those in sometimes.
Fulton picked some of those, most of those. He did a lot of that. Anyhow, let's get into some headlines, shall we?
Let's do it.
Let's get into one of the funniest collections of words that we're going to encounter in the 2025 sports year. Headline from The Athletic: Falcons and son of defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich apologize for prank phone call to Shedeur Sanders during draft. I want to be very clear. I don't think prank phone calls are funny. You're not the Jerky Boys, okay? And I especially don't think it's real funny to videotape yourself doing it and think, oh, we got over on, look at this cool prank we did. Nah, man, not cool. And I do not think that whatever you think of Shedeur Sanders as a person or a quarterback or a draft prospect, I do not think he or anyone who has ever been pranked in this sort of way deserves that. Like, that's not how you treat another human being, to me. I think it's very upsetting that anybody would think it is okay to call somebody when they are hoping to receive a life-changing bit of news, a life-changing phone call, a culmination of a dream, a lifelong dream to make the NFL, and to prank that person into thinking that this is the call. Anyway, psych, haha, baba booey. Like,
yeah,
that's not funny.
So, full disclosure, before I turned 16, I did think they were very funny. And I made a number of prank calls in my day. My buddies and I did. Shout out to the Mexican restaurant in Summit, Illinois. We used to call all the time. I mean, they knew it was us at some point. They started playing along. It was actually kind of fun. But at one point in time, I thought that was funny. And then again, I turned 16 years old. And also no one uses the phone anymore. So it's like really, really out there, especially 21-year-olds in 2025. I saw a lot of reaction on social media about this. Like, oh, this is funny. Like, haha. So funny looking, pointing at Shedeur Sanders. There's enough you can say about him and like his attitude or the way he carries himself or how his interviews went or whatever. There's a lot you can say that I think is fair game. Intentionally trying to make someone miserable like that in the way that Jax Ulbricht did it, I think it crosses a line. And I personally, I think this is how you were feeling too, Dan. I don't think it's okay to treat someone badly just because you don't like them.
Correct.
I don't think that is a good way to.
And you
treat
don't know
people.
this person, like
right.
Jax Ulbricht, who is the son of new Falcons defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbricht. Formerly, he last year was the interim coach after Robert Saleh got fired in New York, so he'd been the DC with the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
His son, according to the Falcons in the statement they released, unintentionally saw Shedeur Sanders' phone number on an open iPad and copied it down and decided that he and his other doofus frat boy buddies at Ole Miss would play a draft day prank on Shedeur Sanders.
I don't know if it was Ulbricht's son that did it too, but apparently Tyler Warren was also pranked.
Yes, there were players that got pranked last year. So this is not
Mason Graham.
This is not a particularly unique thing. What made this an NFL matter was apparently Sanders had a new phone just for communicating with teams and communicating during the draft process. So this was not like Shedeur Sanders' personal phone number. This was like a business phone that you only had access to if you had access to an NFL team. So that's why the NFL, it wasn't like, oh, we got to protect Shedeur Sanders. It was, okay, maybe somebody hacked into like our database because that's the only way you could have gotten this phone number. Nope, just some assistant coach's moron son. And that is why this is a funny headline, because moron frat boy son of assistant coach prank calls most famous player in the NFL draft. That is objectively an extremely funny set of words to put in a headline next to each other.
No, I'm in full agreement with you. It's such a Falcons thing to happen. Of course, this is also, I got to go find where this came from. I believe this is the third year in a row that the Atlanta Falcons have been investigated by the NFL. I need to double check this. I believe it was Orlando Ledbetter of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution who said that this weekend. I'm going to pull it up just to make sure. But yeah, I mean, it is a ridiculous thing to have happen. It's very stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are people I don't like. I don't like the way Shedeur Sanders carries himself or the stories that come out. I think they paint him in a very negative light. But that doesn't mean I think it's okay to say, hey, what if we trick this guy into thinking that the best thing that ever happened to him just happened and then pull the rug out from under him? I don't think that's a cool thing to do, whether you like the guy or not.
No. And you don't know them. They don't know you. Like, it's one thing. Like, I'm not anti-prank. I love a good prank if you know the person on the other end of it, or like a gag gift. Like, I still laugh about you and Jake got me a star from the International Star Registry as a wedding gift.
Yes, we did.
Great prank, because
very funny.
Those ads used to run on 580 Sports Talk incessantly, and I used to make some jokes about them off the air. And lo and behold, what do I get as a wedding gift from you and Jake is an International Star.
Yeah.
So, like, I appreciate a good gag gift, a good prank in that way. But it's one thing when you know the person on the other end of it. It's quite another to just decide, yeah, I'm going to do this to this person because I can, because I have this privileged information, and because what I know about this kid on the news, I don't like.
So, by the way, apparently there's not going to be any punishment for Jeff Ulbrich. Why? Because if you're just leaving all this sensitive personal information just like hanging around on the couch, I think that I'm surprised the NFL is apparently not going to do anything.
Why does he have he's a defensive coordinator. Why does he have access to this? It should only be like the GMs.
Good question.
Yeah,
and
GMs and head coaches. Yeah.
Yeah.
From D. Orlando Ledbetter of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. This is the third NFL investigation involving the Atlanta Falcons in the last 17 months. For an injury reporting violation, a tampering violation, now the prank call thing, and also that does not even include Kirk Cousins lying about his injury status during a press conference last season.
Just incredible stuff.
It's the Falcons. That's what they do.
I think they might be. The Browns still exist, but the Falcons, I think, are the second worst organization in the NFL.
I'm glad my organization's not on there anymore.
Yes, you
second
played
worst.
your way out of the bracket.
Yes.
Man, that's tough because like players and staff and stuff really like Arthur Blank, and I think he, like, as far as owners go, does a good job like trying to keep guys happy.
Sure.
And good facilities.
No, there are worse owners than Arthur Blank, but
yeah, it's just amazing that they always find a way to step on a rake and hit themselves in the face. Their entire history, forever.
Yes,
that's all they can do. They're in the running. They are certainly in the running.
My favorite Falcon failure story is the time they blew 28-3 Super Bowl lead. My second favorite Falcons failure is the time that running back Dave Hampton eclipsed 1,000 rushing yards, and they stopped the game and did a ceremony and gave him the game ball. And then on his next carry, he lost 6 yards. And he finished the season with 995 rushing yards.
That's
funny.
Hilarious.
So that is that story. Jax Ulbrich fell on the sword, apologized via social media to Shedeur Sanders, spelled his name wrong in the apology. So
who did the other prank calls? Were they also him?
I don't know. I just saw that Tyler Warren got prank called thinking it was the Jets.
And there were guys that it happened to last year, and maybe they had more publicly available, relatively speaking, phone numbers to the point where, like, this was Shedeur Sanders essentially had an NFL front office only burner phone. And so the fact that it got out was alarming enough for the NFL to make a whole thing about this one, where maybe it's just like somebody passed along Tyler Warren's phone number, like somebody got it from somebody who dated somebody who knew him, or
somebody that he knew at one point but didn't like him or something.
Could have been a good prank, the good kind of prank from your buddies.
I meant somebody that he knew from at one point that had his phone number.
So.
All right, let's get to our next headline here. This one from Henry Greenstein of the Lawrence Journal-World. An NCAA lawsuit, folks, although this one actually ended up in the NCAA's favor. The Southern District of New York has dismissed a class action lawsuit against the NCAA, whose plaintiffs included Mario Chalmers and Sharon Collins, among others. The plaintiffs argued that they should be compensated for the NCAA's use of their past highlights in promoting March Madness.
Score one for the NCAA.
Yeah, hey, big win for them.
Brings their record in the courts to approximately 1-72.
I think that this was probably judged the right way. Like, sucks for those guys that they did not get, above the table legally compensated for their careers in college sports. But that being said, like, you signed a bunch of paperwork that essentially said your image belongs to the school as long as you are wearing school stuff. Like, I don't think they quite had a leg to stand on here. But I mean, if you're the NCAA, this is Chris Paul hitting a 3-pointer to cut the lead to 42. Like that's what this is at this point. This is not going to stop the deluge of lawsuits coming their way.
All right, Spencer, do you want to run through these NFL news and notes real quick?
Yes, and then I'll get to a bigger story from the NFL for my favorite team. News and notes around the NFL. Browns will not pick up Kenny Pickett's 5th-year option. I feel like everybody figures that. Why would they?
Amazing.
Dre Greenlaw tears quad. He's going to be out long-term for the Broncos. Again, that's relevant because in the same division as the Chiefs now, as he left the 49ers, signed with the Broncos. Derek Carr confirms he has a shoulder injury. And the Steelers signed veteran wide receiver Robert Woods. Also, the Panthers signed Hunter Renfrow as well, another veteran wide receiver.
That was weird. Apparently, he just didn't want to play football last year.
So he retired, I thought.
No one signed it. Well, he was dealing with some pretty severe concussion stuff, I believe.
Yeah.
He got his bell rung a number of times in Vegas/Oakland. So I think that's why he took last year off.
Yeah. Other headline, we have a new stadium alert. My favorite team, the Commanders, are moving back to Washington, D.C. to leave their dilapidated piece of crap stadium, literally crap flying out of said stadium at some point. For a nearly $4 billion deal is reached for Washington Commanders to return to D.C. It'll be a 65,000-seat stadium, could be up to 75, depending on how the final architecture gets going. The Commanders plan to contribute $2.7 billion, with the city vowing to invest $1.1 billion, which I believe is the city is putting up 24% of the money, which is the lowest amount that a stadium for among notable stadiums being built in the last 15 years.
All right.
They will return to the RFK site.
I'm gonna start here. I'm very happy for you when you go home, go to a game. For your friends who are fans. I'm very excited for you when it opens. I'm sure it's going to be very nice. The renderings look really nice. They got big skylight stuff. The amenities are going to be nice. Josh Harris will spare no expense. I do have one take. This is not a Commander specific take. This is a new stadiums take. None of them are unique anymore. I feel like so many new the renderings look nice for this new stadium. I saw them on social media today, but I feel like every new stadium, they look the same. There's big windows on the side. They're going to be covered, maybe have the retractable roof. They're going to have 65 to 70,000 seats. They've got all these amenities that look like the Bears' new stadium is going to look just like this as well. It is one reason why I hope the Chiefs renovate Arrowhead and do not move. Having a unique stadium at this point, I think is cool. I'm happy for Washington because Lord knows they need any kind of new stadium at this point. And they're nice and they're cool and they're nice and they're modern. I just think it feels, like cookie cutter baseball stadium era kind of to me.
I will tell you,
way more updated.
I will tell you, in the year 2012 or 2013, one Bruce Allen, former GM / I'm going to do stadium and alumni stuff, they put out a rendering. And there was going to be a moat around said new stadium. That would have been unique.
That would have been, yes, that is true.
That
is certainly true.
All right, playoff roundup time. Let's do a playoff roundup, shall we?
Sounds good to me.
I think so, too. I can't wait for the playoff roundup.
It's time for the 580 Sports Talk playoff roundup.
I think we need to hold up a sign. 10 seconds to round up.
In the NBA last night, or yesterday, there were 4 games. A lot of them were really good, and the end result of all 4 games is that each series involved went to 3-1. New York held off Detroit in the East. Some controversy at the end of the game. Tim Hardaway felt like he should have gotten fouled. The league came out afterward and said that he was fouled and should have been awarded free throws, and it was a 1-point Knicks win. I disagree. I think Hardaway leaned into Josh Hart, ducked the right shoulder into the path of the flyby on the pump fake, and I think that's garbage, and I don't want that in basketball. I think if you send the defender on your pump fake straight into you, that's a great pump fake, and that's a foul. But if you pump fake and the defender flies to either side and you lean one way or another into them, you are a grifter, and you should be arrested and thrown in prison. That is the Trae Young, James Harden, Jalen Brunson garbage that makes the NBA really hard to watch. And they should get rid of it. And it shouldn't be a foul.
The reason this is controversial is because for 82 games they allow it. And
Yes.
now in the
Yeah.
I understand that perspective, and I agree with that perspective. My perspective is they should allow it 0 games.
No, I agree. Like I'm right there with you. I have a very stupid take about the NBA. The players are too good. Like, it takes away from the enjoyment of the 82-game regular season. The players are too good. Like, 7-footers who run a 12-second 40 can shoot 35-foot threes. Like, we need to make it easier to play defense in the NBA. I wish all the games were officiated like this.
Yes, no, I would agree with that take 100%. So the Knicks beat the Pistons. They're up 3-1 in that series. The Timberwolves beat the Lakers, rallying back from 12 down the fourth quarter.
Anthony Edwards, man.
He was great in the fourth quarter. The Lakers obviously ran out of gas. They did not make a single substitute in the second half. They played the same 5 guys. And one of those guys is 40 years old. And the other of those guys is Luka Doncic. So unsurprisingly, they didn't quite have the same legs down the stretch. And they lost that game by 3. So the Timberwolves lead the Lakers 3-1. Boston held off Orlando to go up 3-1 in that series. The Pacers defeated Milwaukee. That was a late night game for some reason. That was weird. But the Pacers lead the Bucks 3-1, and the Bucks are going to be without Damian Lillard for the rest of this series and maybe all of next season, as he tore his Achilles tendon last night. Real bummer.
Terrible.
One of the fun players in the league who
I love Dame.
Running out of chances to get that elusive championship ring. Tonight, we could have our first closeout game of the playoffs as Cleveland tries to sweep Miami out east. Game 4 in the Warriors-Rockets series. Golden State, the home team, with a 2-1 lead there. In the NHL last night, Carolina and Washington take command of their Eastern series with road wins at New Jersey and Montreal, respectively. So the Canes and the Caps up 3-1. Out west, the Blues thump the Jets again. Jets goaltender Connor Hellebuck is never beating the playoff dropper allegations. And the Oilers score in the final minute of regulation and in overtime to beat the Kings in L.A. Both of those series, Winnipeg and St. Louis and Edmonton and the Kings, are tied at 2. 2 games tonight, one out east, Tampa Bay and Florida. Florida leads that series 2-1. The road team has won all 3 games so far. And we have our first pivotal Game 5 of the playoffs. Game 5s are either closeout opportunities or they're pivotal because the series is tied at 2. And that is the case between the Stars and the Avs. Game 5 tonight in Dallas. That is the playoff roundup. We'll take a break and come back and talk a little more NFL draft. But first, a word from my friends at Great Life. 5 outstanding golf courses, 7 great fitness facilities, and affordable membership packages for all different levels of fitness or golf desires. The Play Everything package is great, and I'm an all-inclusive member. The benefits are outstanding, and the facilities are second to none. Go to greatlifetopeka.com to learn more and become a member today. We'll take a timeout and come back with more 580 Sports Talk next. Dan, Brendan, Spencer with you, 536 on 580 Sports Talk. High marks all around this table for the Chiefs draft. Really loved their day 2 business on defense, adding pass rush juice with Ashton Gillott and Omar Norman-Lott, and a cornerback that really adds to their depth. Something we didn't talk about when we were talking about Noel Williams. We talked about it on the our live stream, our NFL Draft Extravaganza on our 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel. If Williams can come in and play right away, the Chiefs now have enough depth and flexibility at cornerback that they could leave Trent McDuffie in the slot. Yep. And I like Trent McDuffie on the outside, but I love Trent McDuffie in the slot because A, he was an all-pro from the slot. B, you can utilize him as a blitzer where he's really good. And I think that his presence as that slot defender is crucial to unlocking the best possible version of the Chiefs defense with Steve Spagnuolo. So if Noel Williams is a candidate to start outside with Christian Fulton, I think that could end up being a really important pick. Never mind the idea that he's a ball-hawking player that the Chiefs have kind of missed in their defensive backfield the last couple of years. I think when I look at their entire draft, I think Jalen Royals might be my favorite pick. I know Matt Verderame said as much when we talked to him in the 3 o'clock hour earlier today, that's a player that could have gone late second, early third, where the Chiefs did have picks. The fact that the Chiefs were able to get him at 133 overall, a player who has a very similar skill set to Rashee Rice. I think that's a really nice addition for the Chiefs at that 4th round pick. Really, really high marks. I think this is a good draft with the potential, if Josh Simmons hits big, to be one of the best of the Veach era.
Yeah, no, I think it's very solid. Again, I mentioned it at the top of the show, but I think every pick makes sense. And I think that the Chiefs are emphasizing what they know they are good at and the pieces that have worked in their offensive and defensive systems. I think it goes a long way to say, yes, this draft makes sense. And I think that's exactly what it means for the Kansas City Chiefs here. I like some of the individual talent. I'm with you. I think Royals is probably my favorite pick of the draft. I do like Omar Norman-Lott, though. I like that one a lot. And I'd probably put Noel Williams third. I think those would be my top 3 picks if you asked me to rank them personally. Those would be my top 3 picks. And again, if Simmons hits, it's a massive, massive win no matter who else pans out. You worry about the injury.
How do we feel about the rest of the AFC West? I thought the Raiders had a really nice draft from a skill position standpoint, not just getting Ashton Genty, maybe the 3rd best player in the draft, the running back from Boise State at number 6 overall. But I love the pass catchers that they added. Jack Beck in the 2nd round. Deion Thornton is such an Al Davis Raiders receiver, big and fast, really, really fast. So they've got a little bit more pass catching juice to give Geno Smith. And I like the pick of Darian Porter, the cornerback out of Iowa State at number 68 overall, early 3rd round. I thought Vegas did a bang-up job. Amazing. You have a real GM and a real coach, and now you're drafting like a real team, too. Yeah,
the Raiders had one of my favorite classes in the entire NFL. And sometimes we overthink things. And, with Chip Kelly's scheme and with what Patrick Graham wants to do on defense, like these pieces, like are they the exact perfect fits? Here's what it comes down to. Last season, were the Raiders talented? No. Was the roster good? No. In fact, it was butt. It was big, stinky butt. Did they need more good football players? Yes. So what did they do? They just drafted good football players. We're going to find a way to make it work. Ashton Genty, stud. I agree. 3rd best player in the draft behind Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter. Jack Besh, the wide receiver from TCU. Is he a perfect fit for what Chip Kelly wants to do? I don't know, but he's fast and he catches the ball. Good. Darian Porter, super athletic. Like that one. You mentioned Dante Thornton. J.J. Pegues, the big man, defensive tackle from Ole Miss. They had him play some Wildcat fullback on the goal line. I believe he even threw a touchdown pass for Ole Miss this year. He is gigantic. He is an enormous monolith of a person. And if anyone is going to be able to use him in all sorts of funky ways, it's Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly. And with back-to-back picks in the 6th round, 3 picks apart, but they're back-to-back picks, they took 2 FCS quarterbacks. Tommy Mellott from Montana State, who's going to play wide receiver in the NFL, or like gadget special teams Taysom Hill, and Cam Miller at North Dakota State. Cam Miller's going to play quarterback. They just said, you know what? We're going to take the most talented dude that's available and just ride with it. I love it. Love what they did. That's right there, honestly, Dan, with your Seahawks is maybe my two favorite classes in the whole draft. Chiefs not far behind.
The Chargers and the Broncos, I was not enamored with either team's draft. I thought the Chargers go with Omari and Hampton. Like, I think he's a bell cow back, but he's going to split the job with Najee Harris, which, again, it's on brand for the Chargers and what they want to do and what Jim Harbaugh wants to do. But I didn't love the rest of the Chargers draft. I thought it was fine, but it wasn't a lot to get excited about for me. I thought the Broncos were reaching on day 2. I liked their first round pick, Jahdae Barron. I don't think many people saw Denver going corner, but
No.
They have as good a cornerback room in the NFL as anybody now, with Barron joining Patrick Surtain the second. Riley Moss had a good rookie year. Day 2, I felt like they were reaching. And I like R.J. Harvey. I don't think R.J. Harvey's an every down guy. I think he's an explosive guy. He gives them an element they didn't have in their backfield. But I felt like that was a reach in the second round. And I thought Pat Bryant at wide receiver for Illinois was a massive reach in the third round.
Yeah, I like Pat Bryant, but I would have taken Jalen Noel from Iowa State before I took him. I was a little bit surprised by that one, certainly. Yeah, I didn't love either of these, to be completely honest with you. The Broncos one was okay. I agree with you. I like Barron. Just kind of weird the rest of the way. And maybe it works out. I mean, everybody clowned them for picking Bo Nix last year. He was either second or third in Rookie of the Year voting. It worked out. They had a pretty good draft, I thought, last year. This one, still to be seen. I don't really get what the Chargers were doing, to be completely honest with you. The last time we saw the Los Angeles Chargers, you know what they were doing? Getting their brains beaten in by the Houston Texans, 32-12. That game was not competitive for one single second of that ball game. They lost 32-12. Justin Herbert was terrible. Their defense stunk. They got their butts kicked. How does a Marion Hampton and then a straight line, fast, deep threat wide receiver fix that? Because those were their first 2 draft picks. And I like Marion Hampton. I think he's a good player. I thought the Broncos were going to draft him at 20, ahead of where the Chargers picked him. I like Hampton. I don't know that he fixes that problem, although Najee Harris is super overrated as it is. Trey Harris. How many good wide receivers has Greg Roman developed?
Not many.
Because go back to the Colin Kaepernick San Francisco 49ers days. How many good wide receivers did they have? Go to the early, almost all of Lamar Jackson's career until the last 2 years. How many good wide receivers did the Ravens develop?
It was a whole thing. They didn't have good enough receivers.
None.
Yeah.
0. Zip. Zay Flowers. Good. Well, they developed him. New offensive coordinator when they got rid of Greg Roman. And you drafted a project receiver in the second round? Why? Kyle Kennard, I do like. 4th round edge rusher from South Carolina. I was surprised he was not being talked about more. I liked that pick a lot. Keandre Lambert-Smith from Auburn. He was a really good college wide receiver. Got him in the 5th round. I feel like they made luxury picks in the first 2 rounds when they really needed meat and potatoes.
I would agree. I think that when you see the guys they got in the later rounds, they're like third teamers.
It was
but
bizarre.
you tried to upgrade your receiver position twice in the first few or 5 rounds, and I don't like it.
Yeah, they did draft a dude named Triquezi though, which was sick.
I think I may have to take that for seasonal allergies.
Yeah, right.
Ask your doctor.
Yeah, GlaxoSmithKline is advertising that now,
is right for you. Yeah, we're going to take a break here on 580 Sports Talk. Excuse me. When we come back, we'll have some final draft thoughts on the program after this. 548 on 580 Sports Talk. Round and third heading for home. Some final NFL draft thoughts. Brendan, you wanted to say something nice about my favorite team, and I wanted to let you.
Yes, I think the Seahawks probably had my favorite class. I don't know about the best, but I think they had my favorite class because every single pick, except their first one, funny enough, was just a home run swing. Or was just swinging for the fences. And if you connect, oh boy, you got all pros. If you don't, well, ugh. But like Graze the Bell, first round pick, I think is a perfect fit. Like I think he's starting week 1 for Seattle. They need help inside. Nick Amenwari, the safety from South Carolina. There's some production concerns, but he's a ridiculous athlete at safety, maybe slot corner.
You had me at Cam Chancellor comparison.
Yes, certainly. Jalen Milroe. If it worked, it might not work. But if it works, he's going to be the most athletic quarterback in the entire NFL when you put all things together. Torrey Horton was one of my favorite wide receivers. He had a knee injury. Riley Mills would have been a day 2 pick. Had a knee injury right before the college football playoff. He fell to the 5th round. It's a bunch of guys who, if it works, you've got all pros and pro bowlers. If it doesn't, Mike McDonald might be a defensive coordinator again in a few years. But I love the big swings. I love doing that, especially because they're in such a weird, transition period.
I love the Amenwari pick. It was my favorite of their draft. Real quick, who was your favorite Packer draftee?
I gave you the Baron Sorrell story earlier. That was a lot of fun. Matthew Golden in the first round. I mean, it's a super basic pick, but I really loved that one. You need speed. You need a guy who can get open on the backside of a route pattern. I think Matthew Golden's going to contribute week 1.
Any kind of WWE promo on the spot. Which
Dude, sick. Like, there's no way that was scripted. It was awesome.
Spencer, what was your favorite Commander draft selection this weekend?
I like Trey Amos, the corner.
That was a good one.
I think the secondary is something that has just been bad for Washington year over year over year over year over year. And they started to address it last year. Obviously, you get Mikey Sanders still, the guy out of Michigan last year, and then you make the trade for Marshawn Lattimore, who Marshawn Lattimore at times is an amazing corner. He's also maybe heading the downturn of his career. He struggled a lot for them during the playoffs, so you go and you get a guy like Trey Amos out of Ole Miss. That's huge because you got a guy, Noah Igbenogany, who is really good, but he's also was good last year. Is he going to be good again? So I think you get a proven guy out of Ole Miss, and I think that the secondary is going to look great with Quan Martin at safety and potentially Will Harris, the guy coming over from New Orleans they got through free agency. I think it's going to be a much improved secondary from where they were a few years back.
I had a final thought about the whole Shedeur Sanders thing.
Please.
And that it is proof positive that nobody in the NFL wants a famous backup quarterback. You already got enough problems with if you don't have a starting quarterback, your backup quarterback's already going to be super popular. But when it was evident that Tim Tebow was not an NFL starting quarterback, when he was not good enough to be a starter, but still had all of the stuff that came with being Tim Tebow that you had to deal with as a coach, that your organization had to deal with because there was so much that was around him. And it had nothing to do with him being a bad guy. It's just Tim Tebow was a celebrity. And when it became clear that he could not be a starting quarterback in the NFL, his career didn't last very much longer. Shedeur Sanders, in a different way, but similarly a celebrity football player.
Mm-hmm.
The reason he did not go higher in the draft is because teams flatly did not see him as a starting quarterback or a quarterback that could start at least right away. And that puts you in a spot where you have a celebrity backup quarterback. And nobody is trying to have those problems. There are lots of problems that teams will happily sign themselves up for if those players can be better than those problems. We saw a player get drafted in the first round with a very credible sexual assault allegation against him, Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky. Mike Green's history of sexual assault allegations kept him from being drafted in the first round, didn't keep him from being drafted on day 2. Shedeur Sanders doesn't have any of that in his past, but there is enough other kinds of baggage, and I don't think I am equating sexual assault with being on Twitch all the time, playing video games and driving a Cybertruck and knowing famous people or having a famous dad. They're not the same, but there are enough quote unquote distractions. And for better or for worse, NFL people put all distractions in the same bucket. If you're going to bring distractions, you better be good enough to quiet the noise. And the perception around the league, and I think this is fair perception of Shedeur Sanders as a prospect, is that he wasn't good enough to quiet the distractions. Maybe someday he will be. I'm sure he's a hard worker. I know he's a talented kid. I think he has a career ahead of him, but certainly an auspicious beginning and proof positive that you don't want a famous backup quarterback. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We will wrap up 580 Sports Talk next. Time for a final word on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan, go.
I think it was a good class for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think if you're a Chiefs fan, I think if you're the franchise, you should be pretty content with what you are adding to this roster going into the summer. Still plenty of questions. Obviously, Simmons' health chiefly among them, no pun intended. But I think you should be pretty content with this class going into 25.
Spencer, go.
Yeah, I agree with what Brennan says there. I think there was some consternation about really what to do with the pick that the Chiefs had in the first round. And I think when you look on paper, this team going forward years from now, you might agree that it was the best thing they could do. And I like that while I said maybe if Luther Burden drops, get him, they got a great receiver later on in the draft. So I think this draft class on paper is a very good one for the Chiefs.
Man, Luther Burden in that Bears Ben Johnson offense could be generational.
Yeah.
That's going to bear watching, no pun intended for sure. Final word for me. I said it at the top. I don't do draft grades. I'm not going to sit here and give a team a B+ or a C- for a draft 72 hours after it's done. That's just not something that I believe is good content or something that I care to do. But 3 years down the road, we may look at this Chiefs draft class as an A+ potentially, because there's a lot of potential with this group. There are a lot of really good fits that are additive to what the Chiefs already have on their roster. And if Josh Simmons ends up being the long-term solution at left tackle, well then, yeah, this could be an all-time great Chiefs draft. That'll do it for us. We're back tomorrow from 3 to 5:30. For Brendan and Spencer, I'm Dan. Stay safe. Good night.